You practice immortality. I cultivate the land. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 526, Heart-Blinded VIP. In the sea of consciousness of the spirit beast, Kangwoo Zenran looked embarrassed. The sea of consciousness is the most complicated part of the spirit beast. If you are not careful, the spirit beast will go crazy or even die on the spot. But the evil spirits have invaded? Can the talismans of exorcism and purification be used to remove the foreign objects in the sea of consciousness of the spirit beast? He asked Chen Luo, who had a cold temperament. You can try. Chen Luo simply replied, took out a jade talisman with clear light from the storage bag, and came to a spirit beast. Under the control of spiritual power, the clear light on the jade talisman flowed, pouring into the body of the abnormal spirit beast like water. Half a moment later, the clear light on the jade talisman dimmed a lot, but the spirit beast did not change at all, still looking ferocious and vicious, choosing people to bite. I'll do it. Kangwoo Zenran stepped forward, and a square jade seal appeared in front of him. An excited dragon roar came from the jade seal, and then a phantom of a dragon shot out from it, riding on the clouds and mist, and encircled an abnormal spirit beast. A great suction force came from the phantom of the dragon, which contained a pure and natural breath, making Lu Xuan and others who were far away feel calm and peaceful. After a long time, the phantom of the dragon automatically loosened and retreated into the square jade seal. It shouldn't be because of the evil spirit, Kangwoo Zenran said lightly. My jade seal is a 5th grade treasure with a very strong effect of exorcising evil spirits. It can't detect the evil spirit breath. It is estimated that something else is lurking in the sea of consciousness of the spirit beast. Does junior brother Lu have a solution? He turned his head and looked at Lu Xuan, who had been silent. My attainments in spirit beasts are far inferior to those of the two senior brothers. I can only be said to know a little bit. However, everyone is good at different aspects of spirit beasts. I usually like to find some strange and bizarre spirit beast books. Maybe I can give it a try, Lu Xuan said with a smile. Under the gaze of everyone, he calmly came to a 4-winged thunderstorm tiger spirit beast. This 4-winged thunderstorm tiger was huge and had the strength of the 4th rank. Naturally, it was not the one he had tamed before. Lu Xuan ignored the threat of the trap 4-winged thunderstorm tiger in front of him and took out a beast spirit pill from the storage bag and stuffed it into its mouth. These abnormal spirit beasts probably haven't eaten for a while. I'll feed them a beast spirit pill to comfort them a little. Lu Xuan found a reasonable excuse for his actions. The beast spirit pill was forcibly stuffed into the body of the 4-winged thunderstorm tiger. His mind was focused on its body, and suddenly, a thought flashed through his mind. The 4-winged thunderstorm tiger is a 4th rank spirit beast. Its speed is one of the best among the same level monsters. After growing to a certain stage, it will automatically comprehend and control lightning magic. It has a violent temperament, and is extremely difficult to tame. Abnormal state, invaded by the mind-enchanting VIP insect in the sea of consciousness, lost in mind, in a violent state, and extremely aggressive. The mind-confusing VIP, a strange insect from outer space, has a complete strength between the 3rd grade and 5th grade demon beasts, and its whereabouts are secretive and extremely difficult to detect. It likes to lurk in the sea of consciousness of the target object, feed on invisible spiritual consciousness, gradually erode the spiritual consciousness of the demon beast or cultivator, causing it to lose its mind and fall into a violent state, and finally completely merge into the sea of consciousness of the demon beast, indistinguishable from each other. The simpler the mind and the lower the spiritual consciousness, the easier it is to be invaded and polluted by the mind-confusing VIP. You can use spiritual consciousness enhancing treasures to lure it out. The one who disturbs my mind. So this thing is causing trouble. Lu Xuan closed his eyes and pretended to carefully explore the appearance of the abnormal spiritual beast. The mind-confusing VIP, a strange insect from outer space, does not belong to this realm, has strange abilities, and its whereabouts are secretive. No wonder Kangwoo Zenran, who is at the Giandan realm, did not discover it. He thought to himself, and felt more and more that the current cultivation world was undercurrent. Previously, in the Fire Cloud Cave, we found alien insects from the Flame Demon Worm Mother, and now there are so-called heart-baffled VIPers, both of which are from outside the domain. The frequent appearance of alien insects from outside the domain made Lu Xuan very alert. However, before that, we must solve the problem of these spirit beasts. Various thoughts flashed through Lu Xuan's mind. He hesitated for a moment, and finally decided to reveal some information to Kangwu Zenran. He has been in the Xianjian sect for more than 20 years, and has been protected by the sect in various ways. He has obtained a large number of cultivation resources and spirit seeds from the sect, which has enabled him to obtain light balls faster and faster, and the rewards have become more and more generous. Lu Xuan is naturally very happy to be able to give back to the sect without endangering himself. Moreover, if the problem of these heart-baffled VIPers that invaded the sea of consciousness of spirit beasts cannot be solved in time, it is likely to lead to an increasing number of abnormal spirit beasts, and even affect his farming career in the sect. In order to give himself a better farming environment, this little effort is nothing. Anyway, he has long been a genius spirit plant master, and it is reasonable to know more about spirit beasts. Lu Xuan thought to himself, and walked in front of everyone. Junior brother Lu, have you found anything? Kangwu Zenran asked as usual, but he didn't have much expectation in his heart. Even Chen Luo, who had high hopes, could only have a vague guess. Lu Xuan, who was relatively weaker, and had less experience with spirit beasts, would have a lower chance of discovering new things. I was lucky and found something, Lu Xuan said with a smile. Really? Junior brother Lu, please tell me quickly. Kangwu Zenran exclaimed softly. Lu Xuan's answer was a little beyond his expectations. On the side, Zhang Heo and Chen Luo also showed surprise. I have seen similar situations in an ancient book that I got by chance. It is said that there is a strange insect outside the domain, named the heart-confusing Viper, which likes to lurk in the mind of monsters and feed on invisible spiritual consciousness. After being invaded by the heart-confusing Viper, the monster's mind will gradually lose its mind, and it is easy to fall into a violent state, but it cannot detect any abnormality. Even if its mind is completely lost in the end, it will not think that there is something in the sea of consciousness. Lu Xuan said in a deep voice. The mind-confusing Viper? I have never heard of it. The world is so big that there are so many strange things. Kangwu Zenran looked puzzled. I just like to collect some strange knowledge like this. When I heard brother Chen Luo say that something had invaded the sea of consciousness of the spirit beast, I checked and confirmed it, and the first thing I thought of was the mind-confusing Viper. Uncle is good at much more than I am, Lu Xuan said modestly. Does junior brother Lu have a solution? Kangwu Zenran asked quickly. I'm very lucky to know that. How to solve the mind-confusing Viper specifically requires Uncle Kangwu and several brothers to study and explore together. However, I think we can start from two aspects. First, use spiritual consciousness related treasures to lure out the mind-confusing Viper. As long as it appears harmless and is stronger than the spiritual consciousness of the spirit beast, it will be very tempting to the mind-confusing Viper. Second, you can consider finding some soul-related treasures, which may be able to restrain the mind-confusing Viper and have a miraculous effect. Lu Xuan made a suggestion. Chapter 527, Trapping and Killing. Soul Treasures. Kangwu Zenran pondered. This kind of treasure is extremely rare, and it may not be effective against the mind-destroying Viper. More importantly, it may cause serious damage to the soul of the spirit beast. Don't use this method unless it is absolutely necessary. Kangwu Zenran made a decision. Uncle, you can find a 5th grade or 6th grade guardian spirit beast in the Blessed Land. They are relatively simple-minded, with strong spiritual awareness. They can restrain their minds and disguise themselves, which will be very attractive to those mind-destroying VIPers. There is a high probability that they can be lured out. Seeing this, Lu Xuan said, okay, let's do as you say. Kangwu Zenran let out a long roar, and the sound resounded through the clouds. After a few breaths, a huge spirit beast with a dragon head and a turtle body drove the clouds and mist and came quickly. The spirit beast has a blue-black mottled tortoise shell, and countless translucent lines are swimming on it, forming strange hexagrams. Little Kangwu, what's the matter with calling me here? After not seeing each other for a long time, the old dragon turtle still looked lazy and said casually, in its eyes, Kangwu Zenran, who was at the Giandan realm, was just a little kid. Lu Xuan and the others lowered their heads and remained silent, as if they didn't hear anything. Senior Dragon Turtle, there are several inner disciples here, at least give me some face. Why, do you want me to call you Zenran Kangwu? The old dragon turtle sneered, and saw Lu Xuan on the side. Lu kid, you came to the 10,000 monsters cave, to see your old friend? Senior, I just arrived not long ago, and I have something to deal with first. I will go, and chat with you later. With an outsider around, Lu Xuan did not show his true nature in front of the dragon turtle, and said respectfully. Zhang Heo and the others greeted the old dragon turtle one after another. They were all shocked in their hearts. They didn't expect Lu Xuan to be so familiar with the 6th grade guardian spirit beast in the sect. I'm the one who's going to lure out the bewitching VIP, right? The old dragon turtle asked after Kangwu Zenran explained the reason why the abnormal spirit beast was frantic. Yes, according to Master Lu's suggestion, we must lure out the bewitching VIP, and then find a way to solve it. Okay, but I need to tell the fortune first. The old dragon turtle lived for thousands of years, and was very cautious. The blue-black tortoise shell on its back showed hexagrams one by one, and the patterns kept changing, dazzling Lu Xuan and others. After confirming that there was no danger in this move, the old dragon turtle lay quietly beside the abnormal spirit beast. It collected its thoughts, and its mind was in a calm state, and its vast sea of consciousness was completely defenseless. Lu Xuan and others stood in the distance, concentrating and holding their breath. Kangwu Zenran held an ancient bronze mirror in his hand, shining the direction of the old dragon turtle. The abnormal spirit beast kept roaring at the old dragon turtle, trying every way to attack it, but under the restraint of the rope magic weapon, it could only bluff. After a while, just when everyone thought that this method had no effect, the invaded four-winged thunderstorm tiger suddenly quieted down, and a grey-white strange insect as thick as a finger, and like a poisonous snake slowly crawled out from its forehead. The old dragon turtle, who was concentrating his thoughts and mind, seemed to find this strange insect a great delicacy in his sea of consciousness. After struggling to break free, it kept twisting and crawling towards the old dragon turtle's head. The old dragon turtle seemed to be fascinated, and did not notice the grey-white strange insect at all. After the mind-confusing VIP showed its trace, it was not difficult to deal with it. Just as it was about to invade the old dragon turtle's head, the tortoise shell on the old dragon turtle's back suddenly flew up, and a hexagram cage appeared out of thin air, trapping the mind-confusing VIP. Countless translucent lines on the cage kept converging, directly cutting the mind-confusing VIP into countless pieces. Is it this strange insect? If you hadn't reminded me in advance, I might not have known that it invaded my mind. The old dragon turtle said slowly. Perhaps this mind-confusing VIP has some ability to confuse the mind, and can silently invade the body of a spirit beast. Lu Xuan guessed. Next, the old dragon turtle and Kangwu Zenran followed the same method, luring out the mind-confusing VIPs in the bodies of more than 10 abnormal spirit beasts one by one, and then killed them at the speed of thunder. The mind-confusing VIPs are all adults, and because there is no light ball reward for breeding, Lu Xuan did not apply to leave a single one alive. Junior brother Lu, I would like to trouble you to check these spirit beasts carefully to see if there is anything lurking in their bodies. After all, the mind-confusing VIPs in the bodies of abnormal spirit beasts were lured and killed. They all lay on the ground and fell asleep, completely unlike the violent and restless before. Hearing this, Lu Xuan nodded, walked forward and checked the more than 10 sleeping spirit beasts one by one. No problem, it's just that the mental energy is too much, and it needs to rest for a while. You can feed them some ordinary pills to restore the mind. After checking, Lu Xuan came to Kangwu Zenran, and said in a deep voice, "That's good." Kangwu Zenran breathed a sigh of relief, looking at Lu Xuan with admiration in his eyes. I have heard of junior brother Lu's accomplishments in spiritual plants, but I didn't expect that he is not much behind in spiritual beasts. Indeed, junior brother Lu would be fine if he didn't make a move, but once he did, he shocked everyone. Zhang Heo thought of the method Lu Xuan used to help him solve the problem of breeding the pair of Kaiyin beasts, and echoed. The others were also impressed by Lu Xuan's ability and praised him. Lucky, I just happened to see it, Lu Xuan said modestly, and then changed the subject and continued to suggest to Kangwu Zenran. Uncle, I think this method can be used to check the other spiritual beasts in the Blessed Land, especially those that have recently returned from various secret realms. At present, this mind-confusing VIP worm is not contagious, but there is no guarantee that other spiritual beasts have not been infiltrated into the sea of consciousness. Okay, I'll arrange it now. Kangwu Zenran nodded in agreement. Although this is a big project, as long as the safety of all the spiritual beasts in the Blessed Land is guaranteed, a little hard work is nothing. As for the monks of the sect, since the monks' spiritual consciousness is much stronger than that of the spirit beasts, and they have various protective measures and complex minds, it is difficult for the mind-confusing VIP to invade the monks' sea of consciousness without their knowledge, so there is no need to worry too much. After checking out the mind-confusing VIP, Lu Xuan didn't have much to do. He said goodbye to Master Kangwu, and before leaving, he made an appointment with the old dragon turtle to come and see it. Before leaving, Master Kangwu gave him 1,000 sword seals as a reward for solving the chaos of the spirit beasts. Lu Xuan couldn't refuse, so he had to accept it. 1,000 sword seals were equivalent to 2 4th grade spirit seeds. He earned them easily in less than a day, which made him feel that knowledge is wealth. Junior brother Lu, wait. Not long after he flew out of the thick cloud, he wanted to use the teleportation formation to return to the sect, and a cold voice came from behind. Lu Xuan looked in the direction of the voice, and saw Chen Luo flying towards him at a very fast speed. Senior brother Chen, do you have any advice for me? Lu Xuan looked calm. He waited for Chen Luo to land in front of him, and asked in a deep voice. Chapter 528 Tei Thunder Talisman. I originally thought that I had understood the limits of various spiritual beasts. Today, after seeing junior brother Lu's attainments in spiritual beasts, I realized that I have always been a frog in a well. I wonder if there is a chance to exchange ideas with you, junior brother? A smile appeared on Chen Luo's face. If senior brother Chen wants to come over, I will be happy to do so, Lu Xuan said politely. By the way, junior brother Lu, you said that you accidentally saw the information about the heart bewitching VIP in a certain ancient book. Can you lend it to me to read it and learn more? Chen Luo asked casually. I also borrowed that ancient book from a Taoist friend. It has long been returned to its original owner, so I can only say sorry to you, senior brother. Lu Xuan found a reason to refuse Chen Luo. Then, junior brother Lu, can you write down the contents of the ancient book? I'm very curious, and am willing to exchange a 3rd grade magic weapon for the contents of the ancient book. Chen Luo continued to ask, with a bit of urgency in his tone. Brother, it has been many years since I saw that ancient book. I have long forgotten most of the contents. Today I just happened to think that the conditions of those spirit beasts were somewhat familiar, so I recalled it. Besides, it would be a bit unfair to share the contents without the consent of others. Lu Xuan politely refused. The 3rd grade magic weapon is very valuable to other inner disciples, but he could only laugh. Moreover, the reason why he could clearly know the information of the mind-confusing VIP insect was entirely due to that special ability. The so-called ancient book was just fabricated out of thin air, so it was naturally not easy to pass it on to brother Chen Luo in front of him. It would be difficult to tell him that, as long as he encountered an abnormal spirit beast, he would know everything clearly by feeding it. Okay, it's my fault, brother. Chen Luo had no choice but to smile bitterly. His face was uncertain, and his originally cold facial features looked even more sinister. Lu Xuan said goodbye to him, and returned to the formation hall with the help of the teleportation formation. After leaving the formation hall, he went all the way back to his cave. In the following period of time, he resumed a simple and peaceful farming life, cultivating spiritual plants, and raising spiritual beasts every day. He learned from Huo Liner that all the spiritual beasts in the Wanyao cave had been checked more than once to ensure that there were no remaining heart-destroying VIPs. After hearing that the matter had been resolved, Lu Xuan took the time to go to the Wanyao cave, bringing some spiritual fruits and spiritual juices to the little white ape and the Xuan bird who had not been to the cave for a long time, and took a walk in the forbidden area to visit the Kinkyu fox who was devoted to studying spiritual beasts. Of course, he would not forget the old dragon turtle who had similar interests. The pair of friends who were old and old got together and chatted for a long time. Xuan learned a lot of gossip about the real people and real lords of the sect. On this day, he performed a round of basic spells such as the spirit rain technique and the spiritual field, and comprehended the killing sword intent for an hour in front of the white bone killing sword grass spirit seed, and cultivated the remaining few sword grass, arrow vine, jade dew fruit, Tibetan yuan grass and other spiritual plants. We should go to the incomplete secret realm to have a look. I wonder if the spiritual plants there are mature. In addition, although there are no conditions that meet the growth of Yuan sealing Mu spiritual seeds, it is better to put the spiritual seeds in the incomplete secret realm and nourish them with the pure spiritual energy inside than to put them in the gluttonous insect sack. An idea suddenly came to Xuan's mind, and he decided to go to the incomplete secret realm to have a look. In the secret realm, there are most high-grade normal spiritual plants except sword grass. There are several kinds of 5th grade ones, and the 6th grade ones include phoenix trees, which are more important than the spiritual plants in the cave spiritual fields. He came to the formation hall, paid more than 10 medium grade spiritual stones, and teleported into the incomplete secret realm. As soon as he landed, the spiritual energy of the plants and trees in the secret realm condensed for a long time, forming a spirit wood demon spirit flying and landing on Xuan's fingertips and head. The palm-sized light green spirit made a humming sound, expressing its longing for Xuan. They have been staying in the incomplete secret realm. Over the years, the only living creature they have seen is Xuan. They were also raised by Xuan with King Mu Yuan Qi, so they are naturally very affectionate to Xuan. You little guys. Xuan saw these elves that can promote the growth of spiritual plants to some extent, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. The light green light in his danshan rotated slightly, and a wisp of fine light green spiritual power flowed out from his fingertips and entered the body of the wood demon spirit. After absorbing the King Mu Yuan Qi, the wood demon spirit flew around him happily, accompanying Xuan to check each spiritual plant in the secret realm. There are really spiritual plants that have matured. Xuan was delighted and came to the 4th grade thunderwood. With his mind focused, the translucent progress bar under the plant was completely filled. The originally dry and charred wood has changed a lot. The vitality inside is vigorous, as if it is pregnant with the power of thunder. Silver white thunder patterns spread out on the surface, bearing its fangs and claws, looking mighty and domineering. Above the falling thunderwood, 2 thunderstones that Xuan had set up simple restrictions to continuously release lightning power to the plant, had already developed many cracks and were about to become waste stones. Xuan took out the falling thunderwood, concentrated his mind, and a thought emerged from his mind. The falling thunderwood is a 4th grade spiritual plant that is nourished and cultivated with the power of thunder. When mature, it can be used to refine wooden talismans, wooden swords, wooden seals and other magical tools. It naturally has a thunder and lightning aura and has a strong restraining effect on demons and evil spirits. It's actually a 4th grade spiritual plant with good quality. It's worth it that I specially found the thunderstone to nourish you. Xuan's spiritual consciousness swept over it, and his face was even happier. The higher the grade of the spiritual plant, the more complex the cultivation conditions, and the lower the possibility of obtaining high quality. It is estimated that the incomplete secret realm and the thunderstone played a major role in obtaining a good quality 4th grade falling thunderwood. I wonder what kind of light ball it can bloom. He put away the piece of falling thunderwood and turned his head to look at the slightly flickering white light ball on the ground. With a gentle touch, the ball of light exploded silently, and countless tiny light points condensed into the shape of lightning, flashed past, and instantly poured into Xuan's body. Xuan only felt a slight numbness on his skin, and a thought emerged in his mind. Harvest a 4th grade thunderwood, and obtain the 5th grade talisman Tai Thunder Talisman. The thought flashed through his mind, and a talisman appeared in his palm. The talisman was silver white, and when held in the hand, there was a slight numbing feeling of a subtle electric current passing through it. Inside, there were countless hair-like thunders constantly swimming, and it seemed that it could burst out with the power of destroying the world at any time. Lu Xuan's mind was focused on the silver-white talisman in his hand, and suddenly, he learned the detailed information about the talisman. Tai Thunder Talisman, a 5th grade talisman, is made by collecting Tai Divine Thunder from the sky. Once activated, it can instantly release thousands of Tai lightning lights, which are powerful and can seriously injure or even kill early giant and cultivators in an instant. It has a natural restraining effect on demons, evil spirits, or evil cultivators who practice corresponding techniques. A one-time talisman. Once activated, the thunder force inside will be released instantly, indiscriminately attacking all living things in a certain area. Use with caution. Chapter 529 Two-Headed Armadillo Breakthrough. 5th grade talisman. It's a thunder talisman that's famous for its killing power. Lu Xuan was so happy that he carefully put the 5th grade Tai Thunder Talisman into an exquisite jade box, fearing that he might accidentally throw away the Thunder Talisman. The talisman was activated on the spot. This Tai Thunder Talisman is not like the Great Sun Sword Talisman, Xiaohei Sword Talisman, etc. that were harvested before. It can be used multiple times. Once activated, all the Tai Thunder light inside will be released. However, the power must be extremely high. Horrible. Lu Xuan thought to himself, put the jade box into the gluttonous sack, and patrolled around the incomplete secret realm to check the detailed status of the spiritual plants. The Flame Hill, where the 6th grade phoenix tree is located, is burning with raging flames. A pair of phoenix shadows dance happily in the flames. The charred wood is looming, and dark golden lines are constantly swimming. Fortunately, the phoenix tree is not like the Yuan magnetic spirit wood of the same level, which has extremely high requirements for the growth environment. With the flame hill in this incomplete secret realm, and the use of red lotus flames to nourish and cultivate it from time to time, there is no need to worry about its growth for the time being. The 6th grade spiritual plant still has an unknown amount of time before it matures. Lu Xuan is not worried about affecting its smooth growth. It will not be too late to find a higher grade alien fire to help the phoenix tree mature. Not far from the poinciana tree, Lu Xuan heard a faint chanting of Sanskrit. The sound contained a hint of Buddha nature, making people instantly peaceful and peaceful. This is a peculiarity of the 5th grade Vajra body. Under the nourishment of the Buddhist magical instrument, the spiritual plant has taken root and sprouted, and its body is golden. At first glance, one might think that it is an angry-eyed Vajra sitting upright in the spiritual field. In the deep spiritual spring in the secret realm, 3 slender black shadows are swimming freely among the dragon bones. Their postures are somewhat similar to the dragons, and they are shaped like tiny claws. The branches and leaves of the dragon's horns extend out, like real dragons condensed to the extreme. Nourished by the spirit of the spring, the 3 dragon skeleton grasses grew very smoothly, and their every move seemed vaguely like a real dragon. The 5th grade heart ape fruit has also taken root and sprouted. When Lu Xuan got close, various thoughts involuntarily sprang up in his heart, making it difficult to stay focused. He ignored it, and after cultivating the heart monkey fruit with the spiritual rain technique and other basic spiritual planting techniques, he walked aside to adjust his mentality. Not far from the heart ape fruit is the 4th grade 7 emotion bean. The cultivation conditions are extremely weird. During the growth process, it needs to absorb various emotions such as joy, anger, worry, and so on. Lu Xuan stood aside and kept acting to express different emotions. Fortunately, he had rich acting experience and his acting skills were passable, and he finally completed the task of cultivating Kaiking Bean. In the secret realm, the 4th grade Dahuan Jujube has grown to about the height of a person in the spiritual field specially paved with Wuling soil. The spiritual plant is surrounded by the spiritual power of light loess soil, which is extremely rich. Normal high-grade spiritual plants are basically in this incomplete secret realm. The most inferior ones are several 4th grade ones. I don't know what kind of light group rewards they can get when mature. Lu Xuan scanned all the spiritual plants in the incomplete secret realm. I'm very much looking forward to it. He then left the secret realm and returned to the cave. 7 or 8 days passed in the blink of an eye. On this day, when Lu Xuan was cultivating spiritual plants, Xuan came to the door. Junior brother Lou, I have sent you new hidden essence grass spiritual seeds. It is still 30 pieces. After all, these are 3rd grade spiritual plants. The output of Sinner Hall is not very large. Many monks in the sect have divided some. There are only so many that can be entrusted to you to cultivate. Xuan said with a smile, with a bit of exhaustion in his expression. Thank you, Senior Sister Xuan, for sending it specially. 30 hidden yuan grass spirit seeds are enough, Lu Xuan said nonchalantly. However, Senior Sister looks a little tired. Is she practicing too hard, or something else? He asked with concern. I have been refining pills day and night recently, and I feel a little tired after a long time. Xuan replied softly. But what happened? Lu Xuan suddenly became alert after hearing this and asked hurriedly. What else can happen? It's just that there are more and more evil spirits and demons emerging in the cultivation world, which has caused the sect's demand for certain high-grade elixirs to increase day by day. Therefore, those in the alchemy palace who are good at refining those elixirs, the alchemist is very busy. With such a large sect, doesn't it have enough elixir reserves? Lu Xuan asked curiously. There are still a lot of reserves left in the sect, but they are being consumed too quickly. This move is also a precautionary measure, Xuan explained. Senior Sister Xuan, if there is anything you need from Junior Brother, please contact me in time. As the alchemist of the alchemy palace, you can also do your best for the sect. Lu Xuan is already the core alchemist of the alchemy palace, and should fulfill his duties. He still would not shirk his responsibility, and took the initiative to tell Xuan, Junior Brother Lu, you won't be polite when I need you. As far as I know, the only high-grade pill you currently have is the Foundation Establishment pill. The others are low-grade pills such as the Yuan pill and the Beast Spirit pill. Medicinal pills are abundant in reserves and relatively difficult to refine, so there is no urgent need for them at the moment, Xuan explained softly. Lu Xuan nodded and specifically told Xuan to send her out of the cave. The world of cultivation is becoming more and more unstable. I just want to plant the field safely. I don't know how long this life can last. Lu Xuan stood on the top of the mountain, looking at the rolling peaks of the Nizan mountains in the distance. I sighed in my heart. There were many disturbances from the outside world, but they had little to do with him in the inner sect. He quickly adjusted his mentality and devoted himself to the spiritual plant and spirit beast. Farming takes no time, and half a month passes quickly. On this day, when Lu Xuan was carefully performing the spiritual rain technique on a large area of Lingying KO, suddenly, his spiritual sense was keenly aware of the surge of spiritual energy in the mountain. Is there a two-headed armadillo about to break through to the 3rd level? Lu Xuan quickly learned what was happening. Underground spiritual power surged, and the rocks under his feet instantly became soft, and a dark yellow spiritual energy shield spread all the way up from his feet, covering his whole body. After a few breaths, he used the earth escape method and came to the mountain. 2 two-headed armadillos had already dug out a wide cave in the mountain, which contained a lot of Wuling soil that they secretly obtained. One of the two-headed armadillos had a dark yellow spiritual light emerging from it. The earth element spiritual power gathered more and more, and the aura on its body continued to rise. Lu Xuan stood in the corner of the cave, quietly watching the two-headed armadillo strive to reach the 3rd level, with a cautious expression. If there was any accident, he would rescue the two-headed armadillo immediately. Fortunately, after the two-headed armadillo was brought back to the sect from Langaiu Paradise, it has been staying in the inner sect, and its spiritual power is rich and pure. In addition, Lu Xuan has continued to raise various monster meat, spiritual fruits and spiritual pulp, and has a profound foundation. After a moment, it roared low, and countless dark yellow spiritual energy poured into its body instantly. Its aura suddenly increased a lot, its size nearly doubled, and its two heads, one on the left and one on the right, became more ferocious and majestic. It's not easy. I have finally grown to a 3rd grade monster. Lu Xuan sighed inwardly as he looked at the two-headed armadillo whose strength had improved a lot. Chapter 530 The Secret Book of Earth. This pair of two-headed armadillos was abducted and brought back when he entered the Langaiu blessed land of the sect. They have been kept in the cave for more than 10 years. They are 3rd grade monsters, but they were in the growth stage before, and they have not successfully broken through to the 3rd grade until today. Monsters grow very slowly. Lu Xuan remembered that the 4th grade spiritual plant Yunling Song that he brought back from the Langayu blessed land at that time had matured for several years, and the 3rd grade two-headed armadillos of lower grade had only become complete. Although this two-headed armadillo is more socially anxious and usually hides in the mountain, it is still very friendly to Lu Xuan. After breaking through, it turned into a deep yellow light and rushed to Lu Xuan in an instant, roaring non-stop. Not bad. I will reward you with a bottle of jade washing spirit dew. Lu Xuan's face showed an eager smile, and his mind was focused on the 3rd grade two-headed armadillo spirit beast in front of him. A thought flashed through his mind. Two-headed armadillo, a 3rd grade demon beast, feeds on refined iron spirit ore. It is extremely sensitive to the smell of various ores. It likes to collect various spirit ores and spirit soil. It has mastered various low-level earth-related magic. It is naturally good at earth escape. It can move freely in soil and rocks. Its scales have strong defense. Growing into a 3rd grade spirit beast, it can be used to explore spirit soil and spirit, or in the future. Lu Xuan thought to himself, and his sight was attracted by a white ball of light not far ahead. The ball of light flickered slightly, as if calling Lu Xuan to touch it. Lu Xuan raised the corner of his mouth, walked forward quickly, and gently touched the surface of the ball of light. The ball of light exploded silently, turning into countless tiny light points, pouring into Lu Xuan's body. A thought flashed through his mind. The 3rd grade spirit beast two-headed armadillo broke through and harvested the 4th grade treasure secret book of Earth Yuan. As soon as the thought disappeared, a large amount of information suddenly poured into Lu Xuan's mind. The secret book of Earth Element, a 4th grade treasure, records various earth-based escape techniques, which are not restricted by terrain, and are applicable to various spiritual soils and minerals. At the same time, it saves spiritual energy, and has a much higher speed than ordinary escape techniques. Lu Xuan was stunned in place, trying to digest and absorb the large amount of information in his mind. The secret book of Earth Element is considered a high-level version of Earth Escape. Although it is only 4th grade, it has one good thing. It appears directly in my sea of consciousness in the form of information, making it easier for me to master it. Compared with ordinary exercises, the secret book of Earth Element is more like a secret technique. It records earth-based escape techniques under different terrains and different spiritual minerals. After mastering it, you can travel through soil and rocks without hindrance, and it is not restricted by various conditions. The exercise he practiced before was the Great 5-Element exercise, which contains the 5-element escape technique. After practicing hard, he has made some achievements. However, the 5-element escape technique can only be performed under ordinary conditions. For example, the speed of earth escape technique is quite good in ordinary spiritual soil and rocks, but if it encounters extremely hard rocks, or spiritual soil and spiritual minerals with various strange features, the speed will slow down a lot, and it may even have to stop and change direction. The secret book of Earth Yuan solves this problem very well. After practicing, you can have different ways to deal with rocks and soils of different textures, and easily shuttle through them according to the methods recorded in the secret book. Moreover, compared with ordinary earth escape techniques, the escape method in the secret book of Earth Yuan consumes less spiritual power, and is also a few points faster. This is called professionalism. Lu Xuan couldn't help but sigh. With the secret book of Earth Yuan, his escape ability has been greatly enhanced. Before, he only practiced the 5-element escape method attached to the Great 5-element gong, plus the 4th grade magic weapon King Fu Lu, and the floating light body method learned in the Sutra library. Compared with others, his escape ability can only be considered average. Now with the secret book of Earth Yuan, this aspect has made great progress and his ability to save his life has been greatly enhanced. Because the secret book of Earth Yuan appeared directly in his sea of consciousness, he had mastered this strange escape technique. His spiritual power surged, and his body was covered with a layer of light yellow light. The light stretched and contracted, wrapped Lu Xuan, and instantly drilled into the mountain. In the mountain, Lu Xuan's spiritual consciousness observed the surroundings, like a fish in water, swimming freely and quickly. The rock that was extremely hard and difficult to pass in the past was no different from ordinary soil in his eyes. His spiritual power changed, but his speed did not decrease, and he shuttled freely. After experimenting for a while, Lu Xuan returned to the cave with a bit of excitement. At that time, 2 two-headed armadillos were brought back from Langayu Blessed Land. One had just broken through to the 3rd level, and the other was just one step away. Xuan's spiritual consciousness detected that its breath was also on the verge of a breakthrough, and it should be successfully promoted to the 3rd level of spiritual beast in the near future. He glanced at the wooling soil that the 2 socially anxious spiritual beasts on the side had secretly scraped off. For the sake of the light ball, he did not blame it out loud, but took out a handful of flaming soil from the storage bag. If you like the spiritual soil, I'll leave some for you. Remember to work hard and strive to break through as soon as possible. Xuan instructed the 2 two-headed armadillos. The 4 heads nodded in a row, each grabbing half of the fire soil. Although the one that had just broken through was obviously stronger than the other one, it probably didn't take the opportunity to grab more fire soil because they had always been dependent on each other. Perhaps it was because of the breakthrough of his companion that stimulated him. The other two-headed armadillo's promotion speed was faster than Xuan imagined. Less than 10 days later, when he was trying to stimulate the germination of the Tibetan yuan grass spirit seeds, his spiritual consciousness detected the vibration of the spiritual energy inside the mountain. Once raw, twice familiar, his body fell directly, shuttled quickly among the rocks, and in an instant he came to the cave dug by the two-headed armadillo. When the one that had broken through to the 3rd level saw Xuan, the 2 slender heads shouted together, and there was a strong joy in the gray-white pupils. "Don't worry, your brother will be fine." Xuan sent a thought to it, focusing on the other two-headed armadillo that was trying to break through. Fortunately, everything went smoothly. It only reached its own level and did not cross the shackles of bloodline, so the difficulty was much lower. In the end, under Xuan's concerned eyes, the 2nd two-headed armadillo also successfully broke through to the 3rd level. Xuan congratulated it, took out a few spiritual fruits from the storage bag, fed them to the two-headed armadillo that had just broken through but was not yet stable, and looked at the white light ball floating in the low sky. Gently touching the surface of the light ball, countless tiny light balls poured into the body. The 3rd level spiritual beast two-headed armadillo broke through and harvested the 4th level treasure Earth Yuan secret book. Thoughts flashed through his mind, and a large amount of information poured into Xuan's sea of consciousness. He instantly gained a deeper understanding of the Earth escape techniques under different terrains and topography recorded in the Earth Yuan secret book, and his memory became deeper and his understanding became more thorough, as if he had performed them thousands of times in different environments. It turned out to be a magic experience package. Xuan was delighted and slowly digested the information in his mind. "That's good. It saves me a lot of effort." He was secretly happy. Chapter 531 New 5th rank Sword Grass Spirit Seed. The spells and methods obtained from the light ball seem to appear directly in the sea of consciousness in the form of information, and repeated absorption can increase relevant experience. The rewards for the skills and methods seem to appear in the hands in the form of physical objects. Xuan recalled the many rewards for the skills and methods obtained from the light ball, and secretly compared them in his heart. Both have advantages and disadvantages. One can directly increase proficiency and avoid the pain of practicing, and the other is presented in physical form and has great trading value. Like the 6th grade blood nerve in his hand, because it is an evil practice, Xuan is currently inconvenient to practice. If there is a suitable high grade spiritual seed, he will definitely take it out for exchange. Xuan was satisfied with the accidental acquisition of 2 Earth Yuan secret book experience packs from the 2 two-headed armadillos. Returning to the cave, he continued to cultivate spiritual plants and raise spiritual beasts. In the next 3 months, except for occasionally going to Jianmen Town, he did not leave the sect for a single step. Although his life was simple and boring, Xuan was happy with it. Others have worked hard and even paid a heavy price to fight for opportunities, but he can get them by harvesting the light ball. Where else can he find such a life? In the swordgrass spiritual field, Xuan closed his eyes and stood quietly in front of the white bone-killing swordgrass spiritual seed. Suddenly, his spiritual power surged, and a sharp sword energy shot out from his fingertips. The sword energy was filled with an unstoppable momentum and murderous intent. It instantly passed through the black gold rock and drilled into the swordgrass spiritual seed inside. I have learned from the spirit seed for so long, and I have initially mastered the killing sword intent. I can initially cultivate this 5th grade white bone killing sword grass. The clear sword heart in Lu Xuan's body rotated slightly, and he recalled the killing sword energy he had just displayed in his mind, further deepening his impression. Fortunately, with the existence of this clear sword heart, I have an understanding of the sword that is not inferior to the genius of the sword hall, so I can comprehend the killing sword intent. If it were my own talent, I'm afraid I don't know when I would have a chance to comprehend it. He sighed and said with emotion. Next to the white bone killing sword grass, the 4th grade sword peacock and blue lotus sword grass were planted. Of the 2 sword peacocks, the first one planted has entered the mature stage. When the sword energy formed a formation to nourish the sword grass, many sword blades like peacock feathers stretched out with a sound, gorgeous and dazzling, hiding murderous intent. The other one has not taken root for long, and it can't see the style of the 4th grade sword grass. At the junction of the blue lotus sword grass and the spiritual soil, there is a sword energy lotus platform. The straight sword blade extends from the middle of the lotus platform, pointing straight to the sky. Sword energy like lotus petals dances around the sword blade and merges into it. Lu Xuan performed the blue lotus sword sutra, and sword ki sank into the shadow of the sword ki lotus platform. The lotus platform rotated slightly, making it more vivid and natural. After understanding the killing sword intent, maybe you can make good use of the Xuan sword sheath and try to improve and stimulate the sword grass spirit seeds to see if you can get new varieties. Lu Xuan suddenly had an idea. The previously improved 3rd grade sword grass was obtained in this way. The Wind and Thunder Sword Sutra was opened from the light ball, and the ordinary 2nd grade sword grass spirit seeds were placed in the sword sheath. Under the nourishment of the Wind and Thunder Sword Key and the sword sheath itself, the mutant Wind and Thunder Sword grass spirit seeds were obtained. Although this method takes a long time and the yield is extremely low, it is better than being able to stably obtain mutant sword grass spirit seeds. When I get a batch of ordinary sword grass spirit seeds one day, I will try it. Lu Xuan raised the Xuan sword sheath hanging on his waist, which was tightly attached to the Wind and Thunder sword, and thought to himself. Suddenly, he sensed something strange coming from outside the cave formation. With his spiritual sense, he saw a small sword talisman vibrating outside the streamer formation. Lu Xuan opened the formation and led the small sword talisman to him. After the spiritual power was activated, Shen Yi's familiar voice came from the talisman. Junior brother Lu, the 5th grade sword grass spirit seed in the sword pool has been bred. Congratulations. Junior brother, if you have time, come and get the spirit seed as soon as possible. The sword grass spirit seed has appeared. Lu Xuan was delighted. After Jian Wuxia, the true disciple of the sword hall, withdrew from the competition for the 5th grade sword grass spirit seed, he could almost say that he had secured the spirit seed. At that moment, regardless of the spirit plants that had not yet been fully cultivated in the spirit field, he summoned the fat bird Feng Falcon and rushed to the sword hall at lightning speed. After dozens of breaths, he came to the wide square in front of the sword hall, left Feng Falcon behind, and turned into a stream of light, and rushed into the elegant room where Shen Yi was. Senior brother Shen, I'm here, he said to Shen Yi who was sipping spiritual tea inside. Brother Lu, don't worry. I just sent you a message and you came to me. Why are you so impatient to get that 5th grade sword grass spirit seed? Shen Yi, who had a gentle temperament, put down the teacup in his hand and chuckled. Of course. 5th grade sword grass. As a spirit plant master, I have the opportunity to plant such a rare spirit plant in the world, so I naturally don't have the patience to wait. Lu Xuan calmed his breath and said with a smile. That makes sense. I already know that senior sister Wuxia has withdrawn from cultivating the 5th grade sword grass. Although there are other sword cultivators in the sword hall who want to cultivate the 5th grade sword grass spirit seed. They are stronger than you in cultivation and swordsmanship, but they are limited. You can cultivate to the middle stage of foundation building at such a young age, and you have mastered several high-grade sword techniques. You can also be considered a sword genius. But in terms of the ability to cultivate sword grass, you are many times stronger than them. You can cultivate 4th grade sword grass, and have the method of condensing seeds, to contribute 3rd grade wind and thunder sword grass. Without senior sister Wuxia competing with you, you will definitely be able to obtain the sword pool spirit seed. If it is in the hands of other sword cultivators, senior uncle Gu Jiankang is worried that the cultivation may fail. Shenyi said gently. I hope so. Lu Zuan replied simply, sitting aside and waiting patiently. From Shenyi, I learned that the disposal right of the 5th grade sword grass spirit seed was in the hands of the sword hall's giant and uncle and the true disciples. Among the fellows competing with him this time, the biggest competitor Jian Wuxia had already made a deal with Lu Zuan and gave up voluntarily. The rest were just chickens and dogs, vulnerable. Half an hour later, a handsome young man walked in. There were countless sword key phantoms swimming around the young man. The phantoms changed in thousands of ways, evolving into the sun, the moon, the mountains and rivers, and the strange beasts and insects. It was Gu Jiankang, the sect's giant and Zenran, who had met several times in the New Blessed Land and the Qingxian Lu secret realm. Junior brother Lu, I knew you were here with junior brother Shen. I think you already know why I came here. The sword hall decided that the newly bred 5th grade sword grass spirit seeds in the sword pool will be given to you to cultivate and plant. I hope you can cultivate it well, get the complete 5th grade sword grass as soon as possible, and strengthen your own strength. Gu Jiankang smiled and handed Lu Zuan a special sword-shaped spirit seed. Chapter 532, Light Split Shadow Sword Grass. The fingers of the spirit species are thin and elongated. At first glance, they look like a small translucent sword, with faint ripples passing by. After a closer look, you find that it is actually formed by countless subtle sword energy. Thank you, Uncle Ancient Master. Thanks to Uncle Master's love, my disciple will definitely live up to his trust and cultivate these 5th grade sword grass spiritual seeds. Lu Zuan suppressed the excitement in his heart, lowered his head, and held his hands respectfully. Received the sword grass spiritual seed. Haha, with Master Nephew Lu's spiritual plant attainments, it must not be a big problem. Gu Jiankang had already learned about Lu Zuan's profound attainments in spiritual plants when opening up a new blessed land, so he had full confidence in Lu Zuan. Lu Zuan thanked him again, and after Gu Jiankang left, he continued to observe and study the spiritual seeds in his hands. Congratulations to junior brother Lu. Once you cultivate this 5th grade sword grass, your strength will definitely increase a lot instantly. Shen Yi's eyes were full of envy. Even with his perfect foundation building state, he was not qualified to own a 5th grade sword grass. He never expected that the one slowly outed disciple would still be walking in front of him. It's a fluke. It's mainly because I'm better at cultivating sword grass, junior brother. Otherwise, it would be difficult to compete with the other sword hall sects. Lu Zuan said with a smile. That's true. Shen Yi was determined, recovered quickly, and nodded. Everyone has his or her own opportunities. He is naturally blessed to have reached this point. There is no need to keep staring at others. The two chatted for a while, and then Lu Zuan said goodbye and left. As soon as he entered the cave, he couldn't wait to jump off the fat bird and came to the spiritual field. He used the earth drawing technique and put the translucent sword-shaped spiritual seed in his hand into the crack. Then, his mind focused on the spiritual seed in the spiritual soil. Or thought flashed through my mind. Spectral Shadow Escape Sword Grass, a 5th grade spiritual plant, needs to be cultivated with invisible differentiated sword energy. A natural sword weapon. When the sword grass matures, it can be used to sacrifice and refine into a magic weapon. It can display invisible sword energy. The sword energy can be divided at will. It is mysterious and unpredictable. It is difficult to guard against. During the cultivation process, the sword grass is almost invisible and difficult to nourish stably with sword energy, so it is extremely difficult to cultivate. Everywhere and elusive. Light-splitting shadow sword grass. Finally, I know your origin, characteristics, and cultivation methods. Lu Zuan was pleasantly surprised and sighed at the power of his abilities. No matter what grade of spiritual plant it is, no matter what special features it has, no matter what weird cultivation method it has, as long as it is planted, it will be visible to him, and there will be no secrets at all. The cultivation environment is not as high as the white bone killing sword grass, but it is more difficult. He secretly compared it with another 5th grade white bone killing sword grass. However, in order to cultivate the sword energy through invisible differentiation, you have to use the transparent sword heart to understand the corresponding sword intention and sword energy from the spiritual seed. Fortunately, the killing sword intention has already been introduced and is on the right track, and then it can be cultivated step by step. Xuan felt a little emotional about his difficult upbringing life in the future. 2 5th grade sword grasses need to be cultivated with the corresponding sword spirit and sword energy. Even if you have a transparent sword mind to speed up the understanding, it is still a big problem. However, in the face of the light group reward, this hard work is worth it. When he thought of the 5th grade sword grass that he might harvest when mature, and more importantly, the generous light group reward, Xuan suddenly became very motivated, and his heart full of motivation. After obtaining the light seed escape sword grass spirit seed, he suddenly returned to a simple and fulfilling farming life. Cultivate spiritual plants, raise spiritual beasts, practice techniques such as breaking illusion eye technique and Shenan Sutra, understand pure yang true fire barrier and various sword techniques, and refine some elixirs. On this day, a messenger talisman came outside Xuan cave mansion. He brought the talisman in front of him. Senior brother Lu, we haven't seen each other for a long time. We have organized a gathering of spiritual planters. Several new junior brothers and sisters want to experience the style of our senior brother. We hereby invite senior brother Lu to come over for a gathering. A familiar female voice came from inside the talisman. It is one of Xuan's friends in the sect, Liu. The two of them were both spiritual plant masters and had entered a Langayu paradise together. They would occasionally get together, and the spiritual plant masters would exchange experiences and lessons on cultivating spiritual plants. Xuan once benefited a lot from this. He didn't hesitate, and decided to have a little get together. According to the time above, 2 days later, driving the sword light, he arrived at the cave, where Liu was. Senior brother Lu, we haven't seen you for a long time. As soon as he landed and sensed Xuan's aura, Liu and his fellow disciples came out to welcome him. Liu's eyes sparkled, her expression full of surprise. Hello, senior brother Lu. I'll have to ask senior brother for advice later. Several inner disciples behind her showed sincere smiles and said enthusiastically, Xuan's spiritual cultivation attainments have long been known within the sect, and all the spiritual cultivation masters are sincerely convinced, without even a hint of jealousy. If nothing else, there is really a huge gap between them. With his spiritual cultivation ability, Xuan was able to enter the sword hall, where he was welcomed by many core alchemists. When the sect opened up a new blessed land, he made great contributions, and reached his current position step by step. As for them, they need to think about planting a few 3rd grade spiritual plants for a long time. They need to tighten their belts to live a life, make friends with the true disciples, and make significant contributions to the sect. Senior brother Lu, let me introduce to you these 2 junior brothers and sisters. They are also good at cultivating spiritual plants. They have both been promoted to the foundation building realm not long ago. Liu pulled 2 fellow students in the early stage of foundation building to Xuan and introduced each other. After learning about Xuan's deeds, the 2 of them looked at him with a bit of admiration in their eyes. A group of spiritual plant masters sat together, tasted spiritual fruit tea, and exchanged experiences in cultivating spiritual plants. Xuan didn't need to spend extra time to practice. He once read through the books on spiritual plants and spiritual beasts in the Tibetan scripture pavilion, and he could fundamentally understand many types of spiritual plants. He occasionally said a few words, which were all from a higher level and pointed directly. The core of the problem made people suddenly enlightened and attracted repeated praises from everyone. After the exchange, everyone discussed the recent major events in the sect. Brothers and sisters, have you noticed? There are fewer and fewer inner disciples staying in the sect recently. Most of them are sent to guard the sect's affiliated areas, guard the secret realm, and clean up evil spirits. Somewhere in the past, the area only needs 1 or 2 inner disciples to guard it, and now the number of monks needed has more than doubled. Yes, I feel the same way. The cultivation world is becoming more and more unstable. The sect needs inner disciples. Once the shortage of disciples continues to increase, it is likely that the appointment method will be changed from the previous voluntary application to a mandatory task. Maybe one day we will be ordered to perform a certain task. Hey, it's a pity that the spiritual plants planted cannot be used. If you carry them with you, you can only let them mature slowly in the sect. Don't worry about the spiritual plants for now. Let's think more about your own safety. We, the spiritual plant masters, usually have more experience in fighting skills and wealth. They are all weaker than other members of the same sect, so in order to increase your chances of survival, it is better to be more prepared. One of them made a pertinent suggestion. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 533 Demonic Disaster. The situation shouldn't be that serious, right? Someone asked worriedly. Who knows? Maybe with the strength of the sect, we can easily deal with the current situation without spiritual plant masters. We may also need to go to the front line. After all, even if our strength is a little worse than that of other fellow disciples, we are from a big sect after all, and we are much stronger than those foundation building casual cultivators outside. Everyone was talking about it. Brother Lou, everyone knows that you usually spend all your time cultivating spiritual plants, and don't pay attention to practicing magic, collecting magic tools, and enhancing your combat power. What will you do then? Liu turned to look at Lu Xuan, with a worried look in her eyes. Everyone had dealt with Lu Xuan many times, and knew that he was devoted to cultivating spiritual plants. The reason why he had such a cultivation level was completely due to taking elixirs, in order to improve his spiritual power, and be able to cultivate more spiritual plants. Unlike other spiritual plant masters, the main purpose of cultivating spiritual plants is to earn spiritual stones and exchange them for cultivation resources. There must be a way out when the car reaches the mountain. Let's wait and see when that day comes. With my realm in the middle stage of foundation building, I should still have the power to protect myself, let alone other things. Lu Xuan said with a smile. His ability to protect himself is not just a question of whether he has it or not, but it is extremely strong. Even cultivators in the early stage of Giandon may not have as many means as he has. Everyone discussed the current situation and did not feel like chatting anymore, so they said goodbye and left. In the spiritual field, from time to time, there was a slight whistling sound of sword energy. Various small sword energy swam around several sword grasses. Under the traction of the key, the surrounding sword intent was diffused, and the skin would feel slightly tingling when approaching. Lu Xuan sat cross-legged in the spiritual field, and his spiritual power surged. An invisible sword energy shot out from his fingertips, instantly turning into more than 10, and disappeared. A faint ripple appeared in the spiritual energy, and then it immediately returned to calm. However, in the perception of his powerful spiritual consciousness, more than 10 invisible sword energy seemed to be attracted by something, and silently merged into a group of transparent substances. The transparent substance kept changing, gradually revealing the sharp sword intent. Even Lu Xuan's pupil technique, which had achieved some success, could easily ignore its existence. Only a keen sense of consciousness could detect it. After 2 months, I finally comprehended the invisible and differentiated sword energy. Lu Xuan stood up, feeling a lot of emotion in his heart. With the help of the 5th grade treasure, the bright sword heart, his talent in swordsmanship was raised to an extremely high level. After staying in the light-splitting shadow escape sword grass spirit seed for nearly 2 months, he was finally able to comprehend the invisible and differentiated sword energy. What I need to do in the future is to gradually improve the killing sword intent and the invisible and differentiated sword intent, and finally get a complete 5th grade sword art. He thought secretly in his heart. Although he basically stayed in the cave for these 2 months, when he occasionally left, he could still clearly feel the rapid operation of the giant Xianjian sect. The inner disciples entered and left the sect very frequently. The demand for various healing and exorcism elixirs and magic tools in the sect suddenly reached an unprecedented level. Occasionally, he could also find out some news about evil spirits and demons. A certain sect was destroyed by an alien demon, and most of the disciples were killed or injured. A certain market was destroyed by a disaster level evil spirit passing by, and some inner disciples died unexpectedly. As the chaotic times approached, more and more disciples took the initiative to hunt down demons and evil spirits in order to earn credits, obtain cultivation resources, and thus get a glimpse of the possibility of forming a pill or even a yuanying. Although the danger is not small, many fellow disciples have received rich rewards and fought for opportunities one after another. Of course, there is still a gap with the light ball rewards harvested from the spiritual fields and plants. Regardless of the turmoil in the outside world, Xuan stayed in the cave and guarded many spiritual plants. He inspected the spiritual fields and returned to the yard. Entering a simply decorated house, he came to a wooden table. There were many jade vessels on the wooden table, which contained the 1,000-year-old Xuansheng spirit milk he extorted from Xianyu and Baohu. In the milky white liquid, many light blue spirit seeds could be vaguely seen. It was the firefly grass spirit seed. After stimulating it with 100 years of ice soul and other means, he put it into the Xuansheng spirit milk and soaked it for warming. The previous waste seeds of the ink bone tree became full of vitality after being soaked in the spirit milk for a long time by the cultivator. It looked no different from ordinary spirit seeds. Xuan was inspired by this and put the induced firefly grass spirit seed into it to improve the vitality of the spirit seeds. He took out a few spirit seeds from the jade vessel, came to the spirit field, performed the earth induction technique, and put the spirit plants into the spirit soil. Firefly grass, a second-grade spirit plant, contains rich water spirit power and can be used as a refining material for common elixirs that can enhance spirit power. The spirit seeds are in a state of mutation, and the vitality is extremely vigorous and rich. If they continue to condense and breed, they may get new varieties of spirit plants. The spirit seeds are mutated, and I finally see a glimmer of hope for successful improvement. Xuan was happy. According to his previous experience, if he breaks through to the Jiandan realm, due to the huge gap in grades, the cultivation bonus brought by the second grade water firefly grass will drop sharply, and the increased spiritual power will become extremely scarce. Therefore, after breaking through the late stage of foundation building, he tried to induce the water firefly grass spirit seed and improve a new variety. After several years, he finally saw a glimmer of hope. What I have to do in the future is to plant the condensed seeds while inducing and stimulating until I get a new variety of spiritual plants. He thought secretly in his heart. The joy of successfully inducing the water firefly grass spirit seed was soon diluted by a piece of news. On this day, when Xuan was cultivating spiritual plants, suddenly, a moderate and peaceful voice resounded throughout the sect and sounded in the ears of all the disciples of the Xianjian sect. The space barrier of the cave is damaged, and the demons from outside the domain have invaded this domain in large numbers. The cultivators of our sect should slay the demons and guard the sect and protect this domain. The voice was deafening and lingered in the sea of consciousness of the inner disciples for a long time. The demons from outside the domain have invaded in large numbers. Xuan stood in place and muttered to himself. He had made this mental plan after discovering the demon insects attached to the flame demon worm mother and the mind-deceiving Viper insects that invaded the spirit beasts. But when he heard the news, he still couldn't calm down. It won't be so easy to stay in the sect and live a peaceful life of farming in the future. Xuan sighed in his heart. However, with my current cultivation and the many rare treasures I have accumulated, I can protect myself, even if troubled times come. I just want to farm peacefully. Why do you have to disturb me? Whoever doesn't let me farm peacefully, I can only let it enter my spirit field as fertilizer to nourish those spirit plants in the underworld. It just so happens that souls, flesh, bones, etc. can be completely absorbed by a dragon. A sneer appeared at the corner of Xuan's mouth. Chapter 534 Preparation. As an inner sect disciple, Xuan would certainly agree without hesitation if the sect had a mission to send him. This is the duty of the inner sect disciples, and it is not easy to shirk it. Forcibly refusing may lead to bad results. In addition, since he entered the sect, he has been protected by the sect for more than 20 years. Most of the spiritual plants he planted came from the sect. His current cultivation and wealth are closely related to the cultivation of the sect. If he has the opportunity to repay the sect, he will naturally accept it with pleasure. The most important thing is that he has full confidence in his current strength. In the late stage of foundation building, the physical and spiritual strength far exceeds that of the cultivators of the same level, and there are all kinds of rare and precious treasures. Lu Xuan sorted out his current wealth in his mind. Among the 5th grade treasures, the soul enriching post, the divine scripture, the blood-sin flower, the clear sword heart, and the 6th grade blood nerve, none of them can be used to fight against the enemy. Among the remaining 5th grade treasures, the void nightmare eye is an excellent treasure for reconnaissance, and the illusion it possesses can also play a good effect. The 5th grade pure yang true fire talisman and Tai thunder talisman are both extremely powerful in attack. Even a giant and Zenran may not be able to escape unscathed from the attack of these two treasures. The 5th grade piercing godle is specifically targeted at the soul, making it hard to defend against. The 5th grade mirage sound orb, a sound wave attack treasure, is also a powerful weapon for sneak attacks. The 5th grade king fui feather cloth can resist the attack of the soul, and can also isolate the breath, conceal the secrets of heaven, and deceive the divine power of divination. In addition, there are many 4th grade magic weapons, such as the wind and thunder sword, the nebula sword formation, the thunder sound sword, the white bone demon puppet, the kingly jade lock, etc. There are more than 60 4th grade sword talismans. If they are used together, even a giant and Zenran will have to consider whether they can block such a number of sword talismans. In terms of escape, King Qiu feather clothes and void nightmare eyes can play an excellent auxiliary role. In addition, Lu Xuan himself has practiced the 5-element escape technique, floating light body technique, the 4th grade magic weapon King Fu Lu, and the Earth Yuan secret book that he has just obtained and has mastered. There are countless other 3rd grade treasures, and his wealth is no less than that of ordinary early giant and Zenran. After farming for many years and opening so many light balls, I finally have the confidence to deal with this situation. Lu Xuan was lucky. Just as he was about to inspect the many spiritual plants in the spiritual field to see if he could harvest a few more light balls, a voice came from outside the cave. "Junior brother Lu, are you there?" Lu Xuan hurried out to greet him. A thin middle-aged cultivator, with a late foundation cultivation, looked serious and unsmiling. "Hello, senior brother, I wonder what important matter you want to see me for." Lu Xuan opened the flowing light talisman array and welcomed the thin middle-aged cultivator into the cave. "I'm from the General Affairs Hall. My last name is Li," the middle-aged cultivator said calmly. Seeing Lu Xuan offering spiritual fruits and spiritual tea, he immediately said, "Brother Lu, you don't have to be so polite. I just came here to tell you a few words. The cultivation world has been in turmoil recently. The sect is short of manpower and will force disciples in the sect to perform various tasks. Please don't refuse." "Of course not. It is my duty to make a little contribution to the sect." Lu Xuan hurriedly expressed his opinion. "It's good that you have such awareness." The thin and tall middle-aged man nodded, with a hint of appreciation in his eyes. "The sect will assign tasks to you, Brother Lu, in as short as 10 days, or as long as 1 month. Brother Lu can prepare during this time. Brother, your task will be relatively less risky." When assigning tasks before, there was more than one giant and uncle, and the true disciple brother said hello. "Try not to let you, the brother who is not good at fighting, go to the front line." The middle-aged man looked at the elegant and handsome young man in front of him and said slowly. He didn't expect that a spiritual plant master could have such a high status in the sect, and there would be several giant and Zenran, and the true disciples came one after another to specifically instruct him to ask the General Affairs Hall to greet Lu Xuan when assigning tasks. Thank you all the uncles, brothers, and brotherly for your care and concern," Lu Xuan said quickly, his heart full of gratitude. The figures of Uncle Gujiang Kang, Zenran Kangwu, Jepu, Huo Liner, Zhang Jingshan and others flashed in his mind. There will be arrangements at that time, and junior brother should be fully prepared. The thin and tall middle-aged monk reminded Lu Xuan, and then turned into a red light, and disappeared into the mountains. Lu Xuan watched him leave until his figure completely disappeared, and then returned to the cave. "It's a troubled time. How can I, a poor, weak and helpless spiritual plant master, survive in this chaotic world? He couldn't help but sigh. There are still 10 days to a month of preparation time. I must ripen some spiritual plants that are close to maturity to give myself some confidence. The last batch of Tibetan yuan grass matured, and with the remaining ones before, he had accumulated a lot of nailing grass beads in his hands. Now at this moment, there is no need to keep them. Use them to replenish King Mu Yuan Ki, harvest more light balls, and give me more confidence. Lu Xuan's spiritual consciousness swept across the spiritual field, and he pondered in his heart. The latest batch of water firefly grass must be ripened. It is a second-grade spiritual plant. The consumption of King Mu Yuan Ki is limited. It can improve the cultivation level, and has a very high cost effectiveness. In addition, I don't know how long it will take to come back this time. I must condense some water firefly grass spirit seeds in case of emergency. No matter what environment he is in, Lu Xuan still retains a heart for farming. The jade dew fruit has entered its maturity stage and needs to be ripened. The dust clearing pill that comes out of it has an excellent effect in removing evil auras. We may encounter many demons and evil spirits outside the sect, so it will be extremely useful. In addition, the 4th grade sword peacock has also entered its maturity stage. During this time, we can use the peacock sword formation and add King Mu's source energy to ripen it. Lu Xuan thought to himself that the light ball rewards brought by the sword grass are all top grade. Since he has the opportunity to harvest a 4th grade sword grass light ball, he will naturally work hard for it. In the underworld courtyard, the 4th grade filthy insect grass has entered the mature stage. It must be ripened before leaving. You can also try the 5th grade longevity peaches, but I don't know if the King Mu Yuan Ki is enough to ripen all of them. It shouldn't be a problem to ripen one. In addition, when leaving the sect, you must keep the flesh spirit god by your side to ensure its food. Otherwise, if it is hungry for a long time, it may lose control as an evil spirit. If there are still soul-absorbing grass beads left, you can also try to ripen the 5th grade dragon skeleton grass in the incomplete secret realm. The other 5th and 6th grade spiritual plants are definitely not enough. Lu Xuan thought to himself. Some spiritual plants that are not of high grade and are in the growth period can be put into the gluttonous insect capsule. After they are slightly stabilized outside, see if there is a chance to plant them. He thought very carefully. The preparations of other fellow disciples are to spend all their wealth to buy various healing and soul restoring elixirs, powerful talismans and magical instruments. My preparation is to ripen the spiritual plants and harvest the light balls. Lu Xuan couldn't help but chuckle when he thought of this. Chapter 535 Peacock King Sword. Time was running out, so Lu Xuan did what he thought. When he arrived at the spiritual field, 200 water fireflies occupied the entire spiritual field. The slender blue leaves glowed with countless fluorescent lights, like twinkling stars. The light blue light ball in Lu Xuan's danshan rotated slightly, and a trace of greenwood source energy flowed out from his fingertips and penetrated into the water fireflies in front of him. The water fireflies frantically absorbed this most original plant's spiritual energy, and the slender leaves stretched out, and the vitality in the plants was extremely rich. As more and more greenwood source energy was absorbed, the plants grew slowly at a speed visible to the naked eye. With the concentration of mind, you can see the translucent progress bar below moving forward at a snail's pace until it is full. Lu Xuan did the same thing and continued to ripen the next batch of water fireflies. The water fireflies were already in the mature stage. With the help of Lu Xuan's greenwood source energy, one spiritual plant after another matured. The light blue light ball in the danshan gradually became dim and its size slowly shrank. When he felt the time was right, Lu Xuan took out an ailing grass bead from his storage bag. Spiritual power surged, and the emerald green spiritual bead gushed out rich plant spiritual energy, which turned into wisps of green mist and merged into the light blue light ball. The light ball gradually became full. Lu Xuan harvested 11 ailing grass beads from the last batch of 30 Kangyuan grass light balls. Together with the 4 he had saved before, there were a total of 15 third grade spiritual beads. It was not a big problem to ripen some of the spiritual plants that had already entered the mature stage. After half an hour, the 200 water fireflies in the spiritual field were all fully mature. Lu Xuan picked 150 of them, and the remaining 50 were used to condense seeds, and carried with him 150 light balls. After picking all the water fireflies, Lu Xuan looked at the light balls on the ground and was happy. His figure passed by like a stream of light, and in an instant he gently touched the 150 light balls. All the light balls exploded silently almost at the same time, turning into rivers of light, which poured into Lu Xuan's body one after another. Thoughts appeared in his mind one after another. Harvest a second grade water firefly grass, and gain 1 year of cultivation. Harvest a second grade water firefly grass, and gain the third grade treasure water bead. Harvest, pearls, talismans, pill recipe experience packages, cultivation rewards. Either appeared directly in his hands, or appeared in his mind, or in his limbs. Among the 150 light balls, 28 gave Lu Xuan more than 40 years of cultivation rewards. At this moment, the spiritual energy in his body was like a raging sea, raging wildly in his limbs. Lu Xuan practiced the great 5-element gong, trying to refine the surging spiritual energy in his body, turning it into drops of pure spiritual liquid into his danshan. 40 years of cultivation. I'm one step closer to the perfection of foundation building, but unfortunately my talent is really average, and the improvement is too far behind those cultivation geniuses. He felt the thick and surging spiritual power in his danshan and sighed secretly. Among the remaining light balls, the rewards that were opened were mainly the second grade soul enriching pill recipe, the third grade water dragon talisman, and the third grade water moving pearl. They were a bit useless for Lu Xuan at the moment, and could only be exchanged for some spirit stones. The difficulty of condensing the second grade firefly grass is relatively low, and it should be possible to condense successfully during this period. Lu Xuan looked at the remaining firefly grass that had matured, but not been picked, and said softly. He then came to the spiritual field area where 20 jade dew fruits were planted. Each jade dew fruit had 4 or 5 crystal spiritual fruits hanging on it. The surface of the spiritual fruit seemed to have been washed by a clear spring, pure and flawless, without any impurities. Due to the good results of cultivating jade dew fruits before, the number of jade dew fruit spiritual seeds sent by the alchemy palace doubled to a full 20. Lu Xuan planned to ripen 5 of them. He had just ripened more than 200 firefly grasses, which consumed 3 soul enriching grass pearls. Jade dew fruits were third grade spiritual plants, and if all of them were ripened, it might consume a lot. The dust clearing pill was barely enough. He was about to go out, and what he needed more was to enhance his combat power. So Lu Xuan planned to keep more soul absorbing grass beads, to ripen the high grade spiritual plants in the spiritual field. Strands of pale green spiritual power flowed out from his fingertips, and penetrated into the jade dew fruit plant. The surface of the spiritual fruit was surrounded by clouds, and tiny dewdrops appeared on the crystal leaves, densely packed, rolling slightly, silently blending into the branches and leaves and spiritual fruits. Finally, it's okay. Lu Xuan added to soul absorbing grass beads, looked at the 24 fully ripened jade dew fruits, and carefully picked them. After the spiritual fruit was picked, 24 slightly flickering white light balls quietly appeared at the location. Lu Xuan raised the corners of his mouth, quickly passed by, and lightly touched all the light balls in an instant. Thoughts submerged in his mind. Harvest a third grade jade dew fruit, and obtain a fourth grade dust clearing pill. Harvest a third grade jade dew fruit, and obtain a fourth grade jade washing spirit dew. A large amount of information rushed into Lu Xuan's sea of consciousness. He opened 4 experience packs of Jade Washing Spirit Dew formula and 3 experience packs of Dust Cleansing Pill formula from the 24 light groups. Lu Xuan stood there, his mind bulging, and it took him a while to absorb and digest all the information inside. After absorbing several experience packs, he had a new understanding of the preparation of Jade Washing Spirit Dew and the refinement of Dust Cleansing Pill, and reached a new realm. Then, he set his sights on the many treasures floating in front of him. The 9 balls of flawless and transparent spiritual liquid were the 4th grade spiritual juice Jade Washing Spirit Brew. After taking it, it can also wash away the turbid breath in the body of the cultivator, making the spiritual energy in the body pure and leak-free. The 6 clear pills containing the clear spirit breath were the 4th grade dust cleansing pill that Lu Xuan wanted to get, which could remove and purify the evil spirit breath. In addition, there were 2 4th grade magic tools, King Louis Jade Lock, which could change freely and directly lock the target within a certain range, and had a strong restraining effect on evil spirits. These 20 or so light balls are pretty good, and can more or less enhance my strength. Lu Xuan sighed, and came to the swordgrass spiritual field area. There are 2 sword peacocks, 1 green lotus swordgrass, and 2 newly acquired 5th grade swordgrasses planted in the spiritual field. Among them, only the sword peacock, which was planted relatively early, has entered the mature stage, and the rest are still far away. It is not cost effective to use King Mu Yuan Qi to ripen them. While Lu Xuan inputs King Mu Yuan Qi into the sword peacock, he exerts multiple sword ki. The sword ki echoes each other, forming a formation, and merging into the sword peacock. After a long time, the sword peacock suddenly emits a clanging sword sound, and countless sword ki shoot out from the sword grass, like a peacock spreading its tail, overlapping and raging. Lu Xuan sees that the progress bar below has been fully filled, and carefully takes the sword peacock out of the spiritual soil. Sword peacock, a 4th grade spiritual plant, is cultivated by stimulating the differentiation of sword ki to form a sword formation. After maturity, it can differentiate into many sword ki and form different sword formations in an instant. With a flash of thought, Lu Xuan put the sword peacock into the gluttonous insect bag. His sight was attracted by the slightly flickering white light ball on the surface of the spiritual soil. With expectation, he carefully touched the surface of the light ball, and the light ball suddenly shattered into countless tiny light points. The light points formed a peacock phantom and instantly drilled into Lu Xuan's body. Harvested a 4th grade sword peacock, and obtained a 5th grade flying sword, the Peacock King Sword. Right square bracket. Chapter 536 Manjahata. The thought flashed through his mind, and a flying sword of a strange style appeared in front of Lu Xuan. The flying sword was dazzling golden, as if it was made of gold, with a very wide blade. There was a peacock on the hilt that seemed to be about to spread its wings and fly. A 4-armed bodhisattva shadow vaguely appeared on the sword body. It was not as sharp as other flying swords, but instead had a solemn and dignified feeling. Lu Xuan's mind was focused on the golden flying sword, and he immediately learned detailed information about it. The Peacock King Sword, a 5th grade flying sword, is said to be forged with the peacock feathers under the command of the Buddha Peacock King of the Buddhist world. It can be sacrificed and refined as a magic weapon. It has the characteristics of destroying all poisons, fears, and disasters, and has a strong restraining effect on evil spirits and demons. A 5th grade flying sword. I finally got a good flying sword magic weapon. However, looking at the information prompt, the origin of this Peacock King Sword seems to be extraordinary. A feather can be forged into a 5th grade magic weapon. I don't know how powerful the peacock is, and the Buddha who controls it is even more unimaginable. Lu Xuan's thoughts drifted in his mind. He held the golden broadsword and danced gently. The golden sword energy shot out. The 4-armed bodhisattva phantom on the sword body instantly became more vivid, and the surrounding area was filled with solemn and holy power. A 5th grade flying sword is so wide, and comes from Buddhism. It can be role-played. It is quite suitable for your scum scabbard. Lu Xuan took out the Yangtze sword sheath hanging on his waist, pulled out the Fenglai sword inserted in the ancient sword sheath, and stabbed the golden and wide Peacock King sword into the sword sheath fiercely. The scabbard trembled slightly, not knowing whether it was excitement or pain. Put it in the Yangtze scabbard, and keep it warm. It will be more powerful when it is used. It will just add another flying sword harem to this scum scabbard. Lu Xuan thought secretly in his heart as he looked at the still trembling Yangtze scabbard. After dealing with the spiritual plants in the cave, he went to Jianmen town without stopping. Since he rarely went out and could get various rewards from the light ball, he rarely bought spiritual plants and cultivation resources other than related treasures. It was unknown how long he would stay in the outside world this time. Lu Xuan's own reserves were not enough, and he had to replenish the elixir that could quickly restore spiritual power. He used the Qian Qian Wumian to change his appearance and aura, and came to Wanbao Tower. The short and fat old man who sensed his mid-stage foundation building cultivation came out to greet him at the first time. This Taoist friend, what do you need? We have everything in Wanbao Tower, and will definitely meet your requirements. The short and fat old man showed the most sincere and enthusiastic smile on his face. Does your building have a 3rd or 4th grade elixir that can quickly restore spiritual power? Lu Xuan asked calmly. Yes, please come this way, fellow Daoist. The short and fat old man led Lu Xuan to the 2nd floor, and soon, a beautiful girl came in with a delicate jade plate. This is a 3rd grade gelling pill, which can quickly restore the spiritual energy in the body. This is a 4th grade Yuan pill, which is a bit more effective than the gelling pill. Even for a cultivator in the late stage of foundation building, or the perfect state, one pill can restore most of the consumed spiritual energy. How much are the prices? Lu Xuan looked at the 2 extraordinary pills in front of him and asked lightly. Each 3rd grade gelling pill costs 800 lower grade spiritual stones, and each 4th grade Yuan pill costs 3400 lower grade spiritual stones. Give me 10 gelling pills and 3 Yuan pills. Okay, fellow Daoist, you have a good eye. These pills that restore spiritual energy are very popular now, and Wanbao Tower is often in short supply. The short and fat old man heard this, and smiled even more eagerly. Fellow Daoist Lee, I brought you such a big business, why don't you give me a discount? Lu Xuan asked with a chuckle. At this moment, he already had no less than 100,000 low-grade spirit stones in his storage bag, most of which came from the Yuan treasure meeting. He sold almost all the various rewards from the Mix and Peach Light group, and also made a large sum of money. In addition, there were a large number of low-grade spirit plants such as water fireflies that he usually sold, as well as the Yunling pill, Yuan pill and other elixirs that he refined himself. How about 17,000? At this price, Wanbao building has no much profit margin. The short and fat old man pondered for a while and said, okay, Master Lee, please take a look. Lu Xuan flicked his hand, and 170 medium grade spirit stones flew out of the storage bag. Then, 10 3rd grade gelling pills and 3 4th grade Yuan pills were delivered to him. After all, Lu Xuan was already the core alchemist of the Alchemy Palace, so he still had the vision he should have. After carefully checking it, he left Wanbao building after confirming that it was correct. During this period, he found another corner where no one was, changed his appearance and aura again, and came to the underworld courtyard. He opened the illusion 5 element formation, and entered the courtyard. It's a pity that the illusionary 5 element formation must guard the underworld courtyard. Otherwise I could take this powerful formation with me this time, which would be an extra trump card. As Lu Xuan sighed, gusts of cold wind whistled in, mixed with the wailing of countless resentful ghosts and a strong smell of blood. A huge light red meatball bounced in front of Lu Xuan. It was the disaster level evil spirit that had been raised in the courtyard since birth, the flesh spirit god. Did you steal the monster meat used to cultivate spiritual plants in the courtyard? Lu Xuan grabbed the light red flesh on the surface of the flesh spirit god and asked. The light red meatball kept spinning, shaking its head. Really? Lu Xuan's spiritual consciousness swept over the longevity peaches and the many monster meats buried under Qian Qiu's hand, and immediately saw that some of the meat pieces had tiny gaps left, like marks left by dense teeth. He lifted up the flesh and blood on the surface of the flesh spirit god, which looked like water plants, revealing many tightly closed mouths inside. You could vaguely see the tiny meat residues on the mouths. I'll forgive you for not stealing much. Lu Xuan patted the top of the flesh spirit god's head and quickly took out a 4th grade monster corpse from the storage bag. After all, it was a disaster level evil spirit with a huge appetite. It was good enough to hold back for such a long time and only steal a little. While the flesh spirit god absorbed the blood mist transformed from the monster corpse, Lu Xuan came to the dirty insect grass in the corner of the yard. He took out a large bag of filthy things collected in the forbidden area at that time from the storage bag, and the light blue spiritual energy seeped into the plant. After a while, the progress bar below the dirty insect grass was completely full. Lu Xuan held his breath and picked the black plant out of a filthy swamp. The filthy cordyceps is a 4th grade spiritual plant that is cultivated and nourished by various foul air and filthy things. It is extremely polluting, and can be used to refine certain poisonous instruments or evil techniques when mature. Xuan got a general understanding of the filthy cordyceps, and his sight was attracted by the white ball of light floating above the filthy swamp. Against the backdrop of a thick foul air, the ball of light appeared even more pure and flawless. He gently touched the surface of the ball of light, and countless tiny light spots exploded silently, turning into a pale white banner phantom that poured into Xuan's body. Harvested a 4th grade filthy cordyceps, and obtained the 5th grade instrument, the one who banner. I have something to do these 2 days, and the plot has reached a critical point. I'm thinking about the treasures so much that my head is full. I'm stuck very badly, so I will update once a day. I will return to normal tomorrow and try to catch up. Chapter 537 TSUI meet. The thought disappeared from his mind, and a strange and evil banner appeared in front of Xuan. The banner was dark black, and there seemed to be endless filth entangled and mixed inside, as if as long as one was stained with a little bit, the body and mind would become dirty and filthy. When his eyes stayed on it, he felt dizzy, and a foul smell came out of the banner, so thick that it seemed to be real. Xuan held his breath, and his mind was focused on this dirty banner, and he immediately learned detailed information about it. The one who banner is a 5th grade magic weapon. It is refined by collecting thousands of filth in the world. It has extremely strong pollution. It can pollute the body and soul of the cultivator, and can also pollute low-level magic weapons, greatly reducing their spirituality. 5th grade magic weapon. Xuan was happy. The filthy cordyceps was 4th grade, and it was beyond his expectation that it could produce a 5th grade magic weapon. He guessed that it was because his cultivation was not high when he planted it before, and he cultivated it across levels. Although the function is single, the effect is very good. It can pollute the body and soul of the cultivator. It can be said to be extremely insidious. Once the body and soul of the cultivator are polluted, the possibility of his alienation will be greatly increased. In addition, the hope of advancing to a higher realm is basically cut off, unless some treasure can be found to clean up the foul air. It can also pollute the spirituality of the magic weapon. Not bad. Unfortunately, I guess I can't use it for the time being. The person who owns the magic weapon is at least a giant and Zenran. With Xuan's cautious personality, the possibility of encountering him head-on is extremely low, and the opportunity to use this one who banned a magic weapon is very rare. Xuan did not observe this evil magic weapon with accumulated filth for a long time, fearing that his hands would be dirty if he held it for a long time, so he quickly sealed it with a special container and put it in the gluttonous insect bag. He came to the strange peach in the middle of the yard. There was only one spiritual peach on the plant. The spiritual peach was pure white and flawless, and the rich milk fragrance came to his nose, as if attracting Xuan to taste it. If there were not a lot of bones in the spiritual soil below, one might have been deceived by the scene of the spiritual peach and thought it was some rare and harmless spiritual fruit. Xuan took out a green spiritual bead and absorbed the rich and pure plant's spiritual energy into the light green light ball in his danshan. After the greenwood source energy was replenished, the light green light ball rotated slightly, and strands of light green spiritual energy penetrated into the Yishao Panteo spiritual plant. After a while, the white spiritual peach looming between the branches and leaves became more and more pleasing, and the rich milk fragrance lingered around, making people feel close to it. In Xuan's spiritual perception, the flesh and blood of many monsters under the rhizomes shrank quickly, as if they had been dried by the wind for thousands of years, leaving only grey and black dry meat, and the blood and essence inside were all absorbed by the Yishao Panteo. The roots, stems, branches, and leaves of the Yishao Panteo continuously input vitality into the spiritual fruit, slowly turning grey and white, and brittle bit by bit in the gloomy wind. Looking carefully, the translucent progress bar below the plant has been fully filled. Seeing this, Xuan carefully picked the pure white peach and concentrated his mind on it, and instantly learned the detailed information about the peach. The longevity peach, a 5th grade spiritual plant, is a mutation of the longevity peach and is nurtured and cultivated with the essence of the flesh and blood of monsters. After taking the mature peach, according to the cultivator's cultivation, it will increase the lifespan by several years to several decades. At the same time, it will accumulate a certain amount of evil aura in the body of the swallower. In the process of absorbing the essence of the peach, the evil aura accumulates more and more. When it reaches the critical point, it will cause the cultivator or monster to be alienated. A spiritual fruit that can increase lifespan. Xuan exclaimed in his heart. For some cultivators who are about to die, it can be said to be the most valuable treasure. No matter how much it costs, they must find a way to get it, so that they can live a few more years. As for the negative effects, people are about to die, and they don't care about those things at all. He looked at the extremely full-blooded peach in front of him, and couldn't help but sigh. If it doesn't produce evil aura, it would be nice to take this longevity peach. However, I still have a lot of life left, and I have a chance to form a pill, which will add hundreds of years to my life. There is no need to rush to take this longevity peach. Xuan planned to keep this peach first to see if he could maximize its benefits. His sight was attracted by the white ball of light that quietly emerged above the brittle plant. The ball of light flickered slightly and was particularly conspicuous in the underworld courtyard. Xuan reached out and gently touched the surface of the ball of light. The ball of light exploded silently, turning into a ball of light with rich vitality and merging into his body. A thought emerged in his mind. Harvest a 5th grade longevity peach and obtain the 6th grade treasure TSUI meat. As the thought flashed through his mind, a bowl of green meat appeared in front of Xuan. The meat was the size of a baby's head, shrinking and expanding slightly, as if breathing, and there was a warm feeling in his hand. Xuan focused his mind on the green meat and immediately learned detailed information about it. Tesu meat, a 6th grade treasure, is the essence of the evil spirit Tsui. After taking it, it can increase the lifespan of the user, improve the strength of the body, and greatly enhance the self-healing ability. Tesu meat. Xuan's eyes flashed with doubt. I don't know where this TSUI comes from, but looking at its information, it should be beneficial to the user without any harm. Eat it. A treasure that can increase lifespan, improve physical strength, and self-healing ability. Why not eat it? He made a decision immediately and swallowed the green meat without hesitation. After chewing it a few times, the TSUI meat broke into several pieces and flowed into Xuan's body. A warm breath flowed through his limbs, bones, and internal organs, making him like a furnace, with his blood and ki surging to the extreme. Xuan exhaled deeply, and white air shot out like a sharp arrow. Wherever he passed, the powerful ki and blood made the ghosts wandering in the yard hide. The ki and blood of the body have been further improved. It is worthy of being a 6th grade treasure. Lifespan and self-healing ability are difficult to verify, but Xuan can probably feel the changes in his body and is very satisfied. Ripening this 5th grade strange longevity peach consumes 4 soul-giving grass beads at once. This is based on the premise that it has been planted for many years and absorbs a large amount of monster blood and flesh essence. If the soul-giving grass beads were used to ripen it directly from the beginning, the number of soul-giving grass beads would be at least 10 times more, not including other conditions required for growth. Xuan looked around the other spiritual plants in the underworld courtyard and couldn't help but sigh. The ripening method is useful, but the soul-giving grass beads consumed are really terrible. It can only be used to ripen some spiritual plants that are about to mature in special periods to harvest light ball rewards. He came to the big red meat ball and whispered, I will put you in a special space during this period. You stay there honestly and don't harm the things inside. When you are released, I will give you a buffet of the freshest monster flesh and blood. Xuan promised the newly born meat spirit god. The red meat ball rolled back and forth twice, nodding in agreement. Chapter 538 Nine-Headed Dragon Picture. After ripening the 2nd grade water firefly grass, the 3rd grade jade dew fruit, the 4th grade filthy cordyceps, and the 5th grade longevity peaches, Xuan still had 5 soul-giving grass beads left. In the underworld courtyard, the evil spirit plants in the growth stage include the 1000 dragon hand, the blood spirit palm, and the holy infant fruit. The 1000 dragon hand is the 3rd grade, but because of the special nature of the spirit plants, they need to be ripened uniformly, and the light ball reward from a single plant may not be satisfactory. Among the remaining evil spirit plants, the Yinku wood, the 5 organs treasure plant, the evil Yuan fruit, the soul burning flower, and another spring flower were planted not long ago, and some of them have not yet taken root and sprouted due to limited conditions. The only soul-giving grass beads cannot fully ripen them. Lu Xuan plans to seize the time and go to the incomplete secret realm again to see if he can ripen a 5th grade dragon skeleton grass. He left a lot of monster flesh, bones, and souls as nutrients for these underworld spirit plants in the yard for a period of time in the future, and then opened the illusion 5 element formation to seal the courtyard. As long as the sect is still there will be no evil cultivators. Evil spirits dare to come to Jianmen Town and act recklessly. With the illusion of the 5 element, the spiritual plants inside are relatively safe. Thinking of this, Lu Xuan's worries disappeared. These are all high-grade spiritual plants. If they are transplanted continuously, it will be detrimental to the growth of the spiritual plants. At the same time, they all need to grow in a pure spiritual environment, and the growth conditions of each spiritual plant are different. They are all evil spiritual plants, and they need flesh and souls at any time. There must be many fellow disciples and other sect cultivators who went out together. It would be difficult to explain if they were discovered. Lu Xuan had to put them in the underworld courtyard and let them grow freely. He left Jianmen Town, restored his original appearance in a remote mountain range, and returned to the sect. After resting for half a day, he came to the sect's formation hall, handed in more than 10 medium-grade spiritual stones, and came to the incomplete secret realm with the help of the formation hall's teleportation formation. It has not been long since the last time I entered the secret realm, and the changes in the secret realm are not great. No new fully mature spiritual plants have appeared. Lu Xuan had anticipated this. He inspected the spiritual plants in the incomplete secret realm and took good care of each one. Then he came to the bottomless spring that seemed to be connected to the void. The cold spring water kept gushing out, and a cloud of extremely cold air condensed in the sky, as if it was going to penetrate into the bone marrow. The spring water was the 3rd grade Yaoquan Linglin. The 3 5th grade dragon skeleton grasses that were accidentally obtained from the bottom of Cayenne Long Lake were all kept in the spring. Under Lu Xuan's spiritual sense, 3 slender black grasses that looked like swimming dragons extended from the 3 huge dragon skeletons and swam happily in the cold spring water. He locked his mind on one of them. The light green light ball in his danshan rotated faster and faster, and a large amount of greenwood source energy poured into the dragon skeleton grass plant. As more and more greenwood source energy was injected, Lu Xuan vaguely saw tiny scales like dust appearing on the surface of the dragon skeleton grass, densely packed together, and exuding a breath similar to that of a real dragon from the plant. The passionate dragon roar sounded, and the slender black grass soared into the sky, flying out from the depths of the spring, surrounded by clouds and mist, as if it was flying in the clouds. Lu Xuan's palm turned into a crystal jade color, and he grabbed the dragon skeleton grass that seemed to have undergone the dragon transformation stage. Although the dragon skeleton grass was not as thick as his fingers, it was very strong. It kept twisting in his hand, trying to break free. With Lu Xuan's physical strength, he had to use most of his strength to firmly grasp the dragon skeleton grass. His mind was focused on the slender black grass that was somewhat similar to a real dragon. In an instant, a thought emerged from his mind. Dragon skeleton grass, a 5th grade spiritual plant. The spiritual seed is condensed from the essence of the real dragon skeleton. During the growth process, it needs the dragon skeleton in the 3rd grade and above spiritual fluid to nourish and cultivate. The mature spiritual plant can be used to assist cultivators in breaking through certain exercises related to the real dragon, and can also be used to raise dragon monsters to increase their probability of breaking through to the 5th grade. I have practiced the Texuhua Longpian for the true dragon related skills, but the lower part has not been released, so I have no chance to use this dragon skeleton grass. However, when the Lihuojiao in the cave reaches the breakthrough point, I can feed it to increase its chances of breaking through to the 5th grade demon beast. Lu Xuan thought secretly in his heart, and then his eyes were attracted by a white light ball that quietly emerged on the surface of the spring. The light ball flickered slightly, condensing in the spring water without dispersing, like a silver white full moon falling into the spring. Lu Xuan reached out and gently touched the surface of the light ball, and the light ball shattered silently. Countless tiny light spots floated on the surface of the spring, and the water was sparkling and dazzling. Then, the light spots condensed into a phantom of a dragon, and with a faint dragon roar, it poured into Lu Xuan's body. A thought emerged from his mind. Harvest a 5th grade dragon skeleton grass, and obtain the 5th grade treasure 9-head dragon picture. The thought flashed through his mind, and an ancient model drawing appeared in front of Lu Xuan. There are mountains and rivers in the blueprint, and a huge 9-headed dragon is hidden in it. The dragon's figure is lifelike and jumps onto the paper. Upon closer inspection, it seems to be swimming slowly in the ancient map. Lu Xuan's mind was focused on this ancient mottled blueprint, and suddenly, the information about the blueprint appeared in his mind. 9-headed dragon map, a 5th grade treasure, contains the spirit of a 9-headed dragon. With the dragon map, one can control the dragon's spirit, and release it to fight against the enemy, or use it to sacrifice magic weapons. 9-headed dragon map, a 5th grade treasure, is not bad. After all, we can't expect a 6th grade treasure to bloom in the light ball of every 5th grade spiritual plant. Lu Xuan sighed without any change in his expression. He injected spiritual power into the ancient map, and suddenly, the spiritual power in his dungeon rushed into the ancient map like a dam releasing floodwaters. The phantom of the dragon inside became more and more real, and an excited dragon roar sounded. A ferocious 9-headed dragon emerged from it, and its 9 heads looked around, majestic and awe-inspiring. Everything else is fine, but the spiritual power consumed is too much. Summon the 9-headed dragon and use up half of the spiritual power in the dungeon. Lu Xuan experimented a little, and the 9-headed dragon phantom was as easy to control as his arm. Finally, with a thought, he returned to the mottled ancient map. The spiritual grass beads that have been accumulated for a long time are almost all used up. Poor grass puppet that works hard, the reward will be delayed. However, using so many spiritual grass beads, ripening a large number of spiritual plants, overdrawing the light ball rewards inside, the harvest is full, and finally I'm not disappointed. Lu Xuan's mouth showed a smile. In order to cope with the upcoming crisis, he ripened a lot of spiritual plants that have entered the mature stage. The light ball rewards are extremely generous, which makes him have more trump cards. The 5th grade flying sword Peacock King sword, the 5th grade magic weapon Wanhu banner, and the 5th grade treasure 9-headed dragon picture can all directly enhance combat power. The 6th grade treasure TSUI meat has improved my physical strength and self-healing ability, doubly enhancing defense and treatment. There are also a large number of cultivation rewards, as well as Djinn pills, King Louis jade locks, etc. Combined with the various high-grade treasures accumulated before, it can be regarded as a little more self-protection power in this troubled world. He thought secretly in his heart, and did not feel arrogant at all, because of the various treasures he possessed. Chapter 539 Black Star City. It's a pity that I don't have enough spiritual grass beads, otherwise I would have to ripen the other 2 dragon skeleton grasses in the deep spring spiritual rain. Lu Xuan looked at the two slender dragon-shaped black grasses swimming happily in the deep and cold spring water, and sighed. The remaining ones in the secret realm are basically of the 5th grade, which are not suitable for taking out. The only 4th grade Earth Emperor date has extremely high requirements for spiritual energy and spiritual soil, and the growth conditions are harsh, so Lu Xuan left it in the secret realm. After returning to the cave, Lu Xuan did not stop, and continued to condense spiritual seeds for 50 water fireflies. 5 days later, all the water fireflies' spiritual seeds were successfully condensed, and Lu Xuan collected about 250 azure and slender spiritual seeds. He inspected the spiritual field, hesitated, and decided to take the 4 arrow vines with him. Arrow vines are 4th grade mutant spiritual plants, and their growth requirements are not very large. Lu Xuan only needs to provide arrow spiritual power, and they have entered the growth stage. Maybe they have matured halfway, before returning to the sect. There were many spirit beasts in the cave, and he planned to take the cloud-stepping lynx and the demonic ghost vine with him, leaving the others in the cave. While he was waiting patiently, about 10 days later, a talisman flew into the cave. After learning the information on the talisman, Lu Xuan looked solemn, looked at the cave with a bit of nostalgia, and quickly rushed to the gathering place of the outer sect. On the top of a flat and wide mountain, he found his fellow disciples who went out with him this time. After confirming his identity, Lu Xuan entered the body of a dragon puppet lying on the top of the mountain. This dragon puppet was huge, more than 20 feet long, with a different world inside. There were 2 rows of simple houses, a narrow aisle in the middle, and layers of restrictions outside. After all the people arrived, the dragon puppet soared into the sky. Lu Xuan sat quietly in the small room inside, tilting his head, looking through a small window at the white clouds outside that were rapidly retreating, and there was a sense of deja vu in his mind. More than 20 years ago, I was still a small key training cultivator. In order to seek a stable farming environment, I paid a lot of spiritual stones and took the treasure ship of Xuan Baolao to Jianmen town. At that time, I also looked at the white clouds passing by through the window of the treasure ship, with my eyes full of expectation and anxiety. But now, my state of mind has changed a lot, and I'm full of confidence. Things have changed. I didn't expect that I could grow to this point in such a short time. Lu Xuan's mind was full of thoughts. While he was sighing, there were 3 crisp knocks on the door outside. "Please come in." Lu Xuan's spiritual power moved, and he cancelled the simple spiritual energy restrictions set in the house, and said softly. A thin middle-aged cultivator with a sharp temperament walked in. "Hello, senior brother Zhao." Lu Xuan stood up and saluted. The visitor was named Zhao Qi, who had perfected his foundation. The 2 were both disciples of the sword hall. They had entered the sword pool to take the sword together, and they were considered nodding acquaintances. Lu Xuan learned from Shenye that brother Zhao had tried to break through the Jiandan realm several times, but all ended in failure. He felt that there was no hope for advancement, so he gave up his ambition. He is very strong, and this time he will lead the team. "Brother Lu, are you practicing the exercises?" The middle-aged cultivator looked at Lu Xuan, and his sharp features calmed down a bit. Lu Xuan has a great reputation in the sword hall. Although his cultivation is only in the middle stage of foundation building, far inferior to Zhao Qi, his status and potential are worse than Zhao Qi by virtue of his ability to cultivate sword grass and the 3rd grade wind and thunder sword grass seeding method he handed in. "No, I just stared out the window for a while." Lu Xuan smiled. "I learned from other fellow disciples that junior brother Lu has always stayed in the sect and devoted himself to cultivating spiritual plants. This time he is going to a place thousands of miles away. I wonder how junior brother Lu is adapting. I'm a little nervous. After all, I'm just an ordinary mediocre spiritual plant master. My cultivation is all based on pills. I'm not good at fighting, and I don't have any rare magic tools. The only thing I can show off is the few sword techniques I practiced hard to cultivate sword grass." Lu Xuan's acting skills are extremely superb, and he maintains his own spiritual plant master persona very well. "Junior brother Lu, don't worry. If something really happens, I and other fellow disciples will protect you." Zhao Qi smiled. "Thank you very much, senior brother Zhao. Junior brother, I'm very grateful." Lu Xuan hurriedly expressed his gratitude to the sharp middle-aged man. "The city we are heading to this time is called Black Star City. It is less than 2,000 miles away from the Black Demon Abyss. There are often demons and evil spirits from outside the domain running out of it, wreaking havoc in the city and causing great losses. The most serious incident was when the city defense formation was directly breached by demons. Most of the cultivators and ordinary human beings living inside were killed or injured. It took a long time for several major sects to clean them up together. The strongest forces of several major sects are fighting against demons and evil spirits on the front line. What we need to do is to protect the city and guard and clean up the sporadic demons and evil spirits that appear in Black Star City. Relatively speaking, it should be relatively safe." Zhao Qi introduced the details of this garrison mission to Lu Xuan in detail. "Then I'm relieved." Lu Xuan nodded gently and said with a smile. The dragon puppet flew at an extremely fast speed. In less than 2 days, it arrived outside Black Star City. Lu Xuan flew out with dozens of other Xianji insect cultivators and looked at a huge city in front of them. The city was surrounded by a dark blue thick wall, and the bricks and stones were painted with various patterns, and spiritual light emerged. The whole city was shrouded in a huge spiritual shield. Black Star City had been attacked countless times by demons and evil spirits, and it was devastated everywhere. Many cultivators controlled flying swords, and magic weapons flew around in the spiritual shield, and spiritual consciousness swept over Lu Xuan and others. Fellow Daoist Zhao, you are finally here. A tall young man with a burly figure and knotted muscles flew out of the shield and looked at the group of Xianjian sect cultivators led by Zhao Qi with a relaxed tone. It's a long journey, please don't be surprised, fellow Daoist one. I wonder what the situation is like in Black Star City now? Zhao Qi asked the tall young man. In Lu Xuan's keen spiritual perception, this tall young man surnamed One had the same cultivation level as Zhao Qi, and was also in the perfect foundation building stage. It's fine now, but we have to stay in the city all the time and patrol the surrounding areas every day. There are occasional cases of monks becoming alienated, and lurking demons attacking in the city. It's not very peaceful. That's good. Zhao Qi nodded and rushed to the huge spiritual shield with the tall young man. At the edge of the shield, 3 monks saluted him respectfully. Brother, to prevent evil spirits from parasitizing and sneaking into the city, we need to check on you and all the fellow Taoists of Xianjian sect. Please forgive me. No problem. Zhao Qi agreed readily. He still had to go through the necessary procedures to avoid gossip from monks from other sects. The monk took out a grey bronze mirror and shone it on the people of Xianjian sect one by one in order. The bronze mirror did not produce any strange images, and Lu Xuan followed his fellow disciples into the city. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 540, A Brief Understanding of Sword Techniques. After entering the city, along the way, Lu Xuan learned from Zhao Qi and others chat that there were 5 major sects guarding and stationed in Black Star City, including the Xianjian sect, Wanshao sect, Lingxiao sect, and 2 medium-sized sects located near Black Star City. Because of the lips and teeth being cold, the 2 medium-sized sects, although of average strength, also came out in full force, vowing to defend the last barrier in front of the sect. There was a giant Zenran from Wanshao sect guarding the city just in case. It seems that the location of Black Star City is quite important, with so many sects stationed here. Lu Xuan thought to himself as he slowly shuffled through the somewhat weathered wide streets. A moment later, he was led to a courtyard by the casual cultivators in the city. Brother Lu, this is where you will live and practice for the time being. The courtyard is simple, and is much worse than the main sect. Please forgive me. This casual cultivator was in the early stage of foundation building. His strength was quite good among casual cultivators, but he lowered his head in front of Lu Xuan, who was from the Heavenly Sword sect, and said with an awkward expression, "Not bad, I'm very satisfied." Lu Xuan said sincerely. He was originally a casual cultivator. The small courtyard he had in Linyang Market was much worse than the one in front of him. In addition, he came out this time to clear the demons and evil spirits, so he naturally would not be too particular. After hearing this, the casual cultivator felt much more relaxed. He left a communication talisman and hurried away. Lu Xuan entered the courtyard and casually set up a simple ban. The courtyard was not too big or small, with 8 houses. In addition, there was an empty spiritual field of nearly 3 acres. Lu Xuan sensed the spiritual energy in the courtyard and frowned slightly. Compared with the spiritual energy in the Heavenly Sword sect, the spiritual energy in Black Star City was not only much thinner, but also more complex. Fortunately, it's better than the Linyang Market before. Lu Xuan thought optimistically. It's hard to go from luxury to frugality. Such an environment made him, who was used to the pure and rich spiritual energy of the inner sect of the Xianjian sect, a little uncomfortable. If the second-grade water firefly grass is planted in such a spiritual field, I'm afraid the growth cycle will be much longer, and it will be difficult to get a higher quality mature plant. He grabbed a ball of light black spiritual soil in the empty spiritual field and said secretly, "Don't rush to cultivate the water firefly grass spiritual seeds you brought. Wait for a few days to adapt. Lu Xuan looked at the deserted spiritual field, suppressed the urge to farm, entered the house, and began to adjust his breath to ensure that he was in the best condition. There were many people in Black Star City, so he didn't rush to take out the Void Nightmare Eye, but just released the cloud stepping links to alert it to the evil breath. The King Fui feather cloth covered its own aura, and then entered the state of cultivation. The peaceful days didn't last long. 3 days later, a talisman quickly came to the outside of the yard, and it whistled outside the restriction, as if urging Lu Xuan. Lu Xuan's spiritual consciousness pulled the talisman over, input a trace of spiritual power, and a deep voice sounded. Dao Iao Lu Xuan, please patrol carefully in the formation in the next few days. With you are. The voice issued a patrol mission to Lu Xuan, which included patrol range, teammate information, shift time, etc. Lu Xuan released the talisman and carefully checked the treasures on his body again. When he felt that the time was about right, he came to the place indicated on the talisman. Is it senior brother Lu Xuan from the Xianjian sect? He came to a flat and wide square. When he was looking around, an old voice came from a few feet away. Lu Xuan looked in the direction of the voice and saw a thin old man greeting him, and there were 2 people standing next to him. He was moved and came to the 3 people. It's me. I wonder if you are the Taoist who patrolled the edge of the city with us this time. Yes, yes. The thin old man showed a kind smile on his face. Let me introduce you, senior brother Lu. This is senior brother Qiu Changyuan from the Wanshao sect, who is in the middle stage of the foundation building process, and is also the leader of the 4 of us this time. The old man pointed to a young man next to him who looked indifferent. Hello, senior brother Qiu. Lu Xuan greeted with a smile. Hello, junior brother Lu. Qiu Changyuan smiled back. This is senior sister Mengyu from the Linxio sect, who is in the early stage of the foundation building process. The thin old man pointed to a gentle female cultivator next to him and said. Lu Xuan and the female cultivator nodded and greeted each other. My name is Sun Yunming, and I come from a small sect nearby called Qingyuan sect. Senior brother Lu, please take care of me in the future. Dao Iao Sun, you are too polite. Take care of each other. Lu Xuan smiled and said gently. Dear Daoists, this is our first meeting. We will work together for a while. Let's introduce each other and get to know each other briefly. Qiu Changyuan said. I come from the Wanshao sect and have rich experience in fighting monsters and evil spirits. I'm good at taming beasts and control several 4th grade spirit beasts. In addition, I have several good magic weapons. Mengyu from Linxio sect is good at making talismans and is proficient in formations. I have entered many secret realms. Sun Yunming from Qingyuan sect has no special expertise. He only has good attainments in several mid-level spells and has a detailed understanding of the outer area of the Black Demon Abyss. The thin old man smiled awkwardly. Lu Xuan from Xianjian sect is proficient in spiritual plants and has a little knowledge of sword techniques. He rarely goes out to explore secret realms and has little experience in fighting. However, in order to better protect his life, he has spent a lot of money to prepare a lot of talismans and treasures. I should not drag you down. Dao Iao rarely explores secret realms and fights monsters and evil spirits. Qiu Changyuan frowned and asked in confusion. Most of the time I stay in the sect to cultivate spiritual plants. Lu Xuan answered truthfully. Then you cultivated your intermediate foundation building realm in the sect? Indeed. Lu Xuan did not hide the fact that almost all of his spiritual power came from the light ball reward. He did not experience any battles, nor did he seek any opportunities. He had the late foundation building realm smoothly. Why give it to me, a spiritual plant master who only has cultivation and is not good at fighting? Qiu Changyuan took a deep look at Lu Xuan. His expression became even more indifferent, and he spoke bluntly without considering his face at all. As soon as he finished speaking, Sun Yunming and Mengyu's faces changed, and the atmosphere became subtle. I don't know, so I have to ask the Taoist friends who are related to this matter. Lu Xuan was calm, and he didn't seem to hear the disgust in the indifferent young man's tone. Don't worry, fellow Daoist Lu. Senior brother Qiu Changyuan's words have no ill intentions. As far as I know, among the 3 Daoists assigned to you last time, one is also a spiritual plant master. He rarely goes out to hone his fighting skills. He was unlucky and ran into a powerful demon. He died on the spot, causing senior brother Qiu and several others to be seriously injured and almost wiped out. That's why senior brother made such remarks. A slight old voice came into Lu Xuan's ears. It was the thin old man who had been staying in Black Star City. He explained to Lu Xuan the reason why Qiu Changyuan acted like this. Don't worry, fellow Daoist son, it doesn't matter what fellow Daoist Qiu thinks of me. It won't affect the subsequent patrol missions. Lu Xuan knew the concerns in the old man's heart and sent him a voice transmission. Chapter 541 Demonic Bird. That's good. The thin old man sighed, but the worry on his face did not completely disappear. The four people had just formed a group. Qiu Changyuan, who had the highest cultivation, looked down on Lu Xuan, who was a spiritual plant master, because of his own experience. Although he was a cultivator in the early stage of foundation building from a small sect, he wanted to eliminate the rift between them, but his influence was not strong enough, which made him feel that the team's future was bleak. Lu Xuan didn't care about these things at all. He followed the three people and came to the edge of the city. Fellow Daoist son, isn't there a large formation protecting the periphery of Black Star City? Do we have to patrol and inspect it every day? He sent a voice message to the thin old man. There is indeed a 6th grade city defense formation, which was jointly arranged by several giant and Zenran from the big sects. The old man nodded. However, the area of Black Star City is really too large. If the formation is activated every day, the spiritual stones consumed will be an astronomical number, so the formation is only fully activated at certain key locations on the edge of the city, and most of the other areas are relatively weak. Only at critical moments will the formation be activated without reservation. The thin old man explained to Lu Xuan in detail. The four of them passed through the spiritual shield and came to the outside of the city. They dispersed and kept a distance that could respond to each other at any time, flying around the spiritual shield at a high speed. Their spiritual consciousness was agitated and explored the surroundings. Lu Xuan showed his spiritual consciousness at the level of a normal mid-stage foundation building cultivator and carefully patrolled the surroundings. Half a day passed, and nothing happened. The four of them did not slack off because of this, and patrolled a certain range inside and outside the city as usual. Something is happening. Lu Xuan's expression did not change at all, and he thought secretly in his heart. Among the four people, he had the highest cultivation level in the late stage of foundation building, and he also practiced the 5th grade Shenyanjing that could strengthen his spiritual consciousness. In addition, there was a 5th grade Yun Shentai in his sea of consciousness to nourish his spiritual consciousness, so his spiritual consciousness far exceeded that of ordinary cultivators of the same level. In his spiritual consciousness perception, a group of demon birds were rushing to Black Star City at a high speed. Something is coming. After about 10 breaths, Qiu Changyuan discovered the traces of the demon birds and reminded Lu Xuan and others. Hearing this, the three of them were as if they were facing a great enemy, and each took out their magic tools and talismans and prepared for battle. TSK, TSK. Lu Xuan heard a sharp whistle in his ears, which seemed to pierce his eardrums, causing the blood in his body to surge. Looking up, more than 10 huge monster birds appeared in his sight. The monster birds had wide fleshy wings that covered the sky when they were spread out. There was a black tumor on their heads, and evil spirits were everywhere around the tumor. They looked very difficult to deal with. When the monster birds found Lu Xuan and his companions, they whistled more excitedly, and the speed of flapping their wings increased a bit. There were gusts of fishy wind from afar. In the sky, the black tumor on the monster bird's head suddenly expanded, and the demon power surged out crazily. One after another, deep black air blades poured down like a rainstorm, densely packed, and whistling. Evil beast, die. Qiu Changyuan snorted coldly, and a 6-winged red giant scorpion shot out, and he himself stood on a white jade giant eagle monster, facing the huge monster bird head on. Mengyu was unwilling to fall behind, and threw out a series of talismans from his sleeves, and countless wind blades, ice spikes, earth cones, and low-grade spells flew towards the monster bird. As for the thin old man Sun Yunming, his spiritual power was swirling wildly, and dozens of dark black spears were formed in an instant, shooting at the monster bird in the air like sharp arrows. Lu Xuan stared at the air blades falling like a rainstorm, and the green shoes under his feet emerged with spiritual light. His body turned into a stream of light, and he evaded the dense air blade attacks very flexibly and lightly. Just as he was about to land, suddenly, a fishy wind blew from behind and above. In his spiritual sense, a huge monster bird sneaked up behind him and slapped Lu Xuan with its white flesh wings. Lu Xuan was calm, and the wind and thunder sword in his hand sizzled, and countless arcs jumped. In an instant, a sword energy as thick as an arm shot out, wrapped in thunder and black wind, and instantly crossed a distance of 10 feet and hit the monster bird's flesh wings. A charred hole appeared directly on the thick fleshy wing. The residual force of the thunder did not diminish, jumping and spreading on the fleshy wing, making one of the wings of the monster bird completely disabled. Lu Xuan rose into the air like a sharp arrow, urging the starlight sword art. A starlight lit up, and the sword energy passed through, and sank into the black tumor on the monster bird's head. The speed of the sword energy was too fast, and the monster bird could not dodge it. In pain, it kept rolling in the air. Seeing this, Lu Xuan sneered, and dozens of wind and thunder sword energies formed a lightning network, hitting the monster bird's body one by one. The huge monster bird turned into a body full of holes, and fell straight down, stirring up large and small pieces of rocks. He had an extremely rare 4th grade wind and thunder sword in his hand, and absorbed a lot of wind and thunder sword experience packs. In addition, the flying sword was integrated into the Zunli sword pill from the same source, which can be said to be his most powerful conventional means at present. He strolled leisurely in the air, dodging the attacks of the giant monster birds. Wind and lightning sword energy shot out from all directions, like an antelope hanging its horns, leaving no trace. In addition, the speed was so fast that the monster birds could rarely dodge. Soon, he killed 4 of the more than 10 giant monster birds alone, and even more with the other 3. The ground was full of monster bird corpses, and the smell of blood was extremely strong, spreading out and could be smelled from afar. I didn't expect senior brother Lu to be so skilled in swordsmanship. He is worthy of being from the Xianjian sect. The gentle female cultivator landed on the ground with an elegant posture, looked at Lu Xuan, smiled and said with a bit of amazement in her tone, "It's far inferior to your ability to control talismans, Brother Meng." Lu Xuan replied. He had just teamed up with Meng Yu to kill several monster birds, and witnessed the exquisite talisman control skills of this Linxio sect cultivator. The numerous talismans in her hands seemed to have spirituality, and they worked perfectly together, stimulating the power of a large number of talismans to the maximum extent, which benefited Lu Xuan, who also had many talismans. Fellow Daoist Lu, is this what you call a little knowledge of sword tactics? The thin old man came over and smiled with wrinkles on his face. If you call this a little knowledge, then hasn't my decades of swordsmanship training been in vain? Compared with the other brothers in the sect, I can only be considered to have a little knowledge. Lu Xuan's mind flashed the figures of Jian Wuxia, Shenyi and others, and he said modestly, "You." The thin old man was speechless for a while. Although he was dissatisfied with being concealed by Lu Xuan, after seeing Lu Xuan's pure swordsmanship, he felt a little more joy in his heart. The stronger the teammates, the higher the possibility of his survival. As a cultivator from a small sect, he still understood this truth. Fellow Daoist Lu, you have killed the most monsters, so you should be given priority in choosing. Qiu Changyuan came over, his tone still cold, but since he took the initiative to let Lu Xuan choose, he revealed his inner thoughts. Qiu Changyuan, who was originally dissatisfied with Lu Xuan's identity as a spiritual plant master, completely recognized Lu Xuan's efficiency in killing monsters. Asking Lu Xuan to choose the spoils was to show his attitude. Chapter 540 To generous and generous fellow Daoist Lu. Lu Xuan walked to a pile of monster bird corpses on the ground, looked at them carefully, and could not find out the origin of these monster birds. Brother Lu, are you curious about the origin of these monster beasts? The experienced Sun Yunming saw the question that Lu Xuan was struggling with and asked. Maybe it's because I haven't left the sect for too long. These monster birds look familiar, but they are very different from what I know. It's normal to have this idea. These monster birds have been alienated. Outside demons broke through the space barrier of this world and invaded in one after another. They are generally highly polluting. The demonic energy can change the form and habits of monster beasts and birds, making them more powerful, and they have characteristics such as bloodthirsty, violent, and reduced intelligence. I see. No wonder these monster birds didn't retreat, even when they were about to die. Xuan suddenly realized why these monster birds were so fearless of life and death. Brother Lu, the most valuable part of these monster birds is a pair of claws and teeth. They are extremely hard and sharp, and can easily cut open the body of a foundation building cultivator. They can be sold for a lot of spirit stones in Black Star City. In addition, the tumor on the head is also quite valuable, and it is very popular among side sect cultivators. The gentle Mengyu stepped forward, pointed at the broken and bleeding corpse of the monster bird on the ground, and introduced it to Xuan. These claws and teeth, as well as the tumor, are all left to the 3 Taoist friends. I only need a part of the flesh and blood, Xuan said with a smile. For other cultivators, the most valuable parts of the monster birds are naturally the claws and tumors, but for him, it is completely different. The flesh and blood that weighs the most, and is most easily overlooked, is the most precious in his eyes. The essence of the monster bird's flesh and blood can be used to cultivate the spirit plants in the underworld and raise the flesh spirit gods. As long as the light ball is harvested, the value will be much higher than the claws and tumors. Hearing Xuan's words, the 3 of them showed a look of astonishment. After killing the demon beasts and evil spirits, the cultivators who had formed a team before all scrambled for the most precious parts, and sometimes even caused fights. But why was it completely the opposite for Xuan? He actually took the initiative to refuse the treasure. These demon birds were killed after the cooperation of all Taoist friends, and the credit is equal to each other. Besides, these materials are more troublesome for me to handle, so it is better to sell the blood and flesh of demon beasts directly. I also raise a few spirit beasts in my cave, and they have a huge appetite, so I need a lot of essence of the blood and flesh of demon beasts. Xuan couldn't directly point out that he didn't like those scraps, so he made up a reason, and said to the 3 people, "In that case, I will be disrespectful to refuse." The thin old man Sun Yunming spoke first. Among the 4 people, he had the most ordinary background and the most difficulty in obtaining cultivation resources. Since Xuan had said so much, he naturally nodded in agreement. Dao Yaolu is so generous. Indeed, I'm very grateful. The eyes of several people looking at Xuan were more or less full of gratitude. Where else can you find such a generous teammate who is willing to leave cultivation resources to himself? For a while, the few people who had just formed a team and were still a little unfamiliar a day ago suddenly became much closer, and the atmosphere became harmonious. Even Qiu Changyun, who looked indifferent, smiled from time to time. The 3 of them felt bad about taking those precious resources, so they left 10 relatively complete corpses of monster birds for Xuan. Xuan naturally accepted them all with a smile, cut up the corpses of the monster beasts, and put them in a storage bag. He planned to move them to the gluttonous insect bag after returning to the yard. The internal space of the gluttonous insect bag is many times larger than that of the storage bag, and it can maintain the essence of blood and flesh, making it the best choice for storing the blood and flesh of monster beasts. Before leaving, Xuan looked at the position of the corpses of the monster birds with some regret. It's a pity that there are others with us, so it's not easy to use the soul guiding lamp to collect souls. We can only let the souls of those monster birds dissipate on their own. He thought secretly in his heart. The 4 continued to fly at a low speed along the edge of Black Star City. Nothing unusual happened next. 3 days passed in a blink of an eye. Xuan basically stayed with Qiu Changyun and the other 2 these days, and had no time to return to Black Star City. During this period, they occasionally encountered several alienated monsters sneaking over. Their strength was not very strong. With Xuan and Qiu Changyun, and Mengyu and Sun Yunming's rich combat experience and their own strengths, the alienated monsters were all solved by the 4 of them. Only Mengyu was slightly injured in a fight with a 4th grade alienated monster. After taking the healing pill, he recovered quickly. Although nothing unusual happened, Xuan still remained cautious. The 5th grade Tai Thunder Talisman and several 4th grade Sword Talismans were always ready and could be activated at any time. On this day, when he was patrolling with the 4 people, his eyes glanced at the ground below without leaving a trace. In his keen sense of consciousness, there was a slight movement deep underground. His sense of consciousness spread over and found several bloated, ugly and ferocious giant worms flying through the rocks. The giant worms were agile beyond their size, and the noise they made during their high-speed shuttle was almost non-existent. If Lu Xuan's sense of consciousness was not too strong, it would be difficult to find their traces. 100 feet. Lu Xuan slightly raised his head and glanced at the three people. The three people were not at all unusual and did not find any trace of the giant worms at all. 50 feet. It's too quiet around here, a little abnormal, fellow Taoists. Please pay more attention. He sent a voice message to the three people to warn them. 20 feet. Fellow Taoist Lu. Qiu Changyuan was very confident in his sense of consciousness. Just as he turned around to comfort Lu Xuan, the giant worm deep underground suddenly accelerated. Before Qiu Changyuan could finish his words, a deep yellow tentacle suddenly shot out, carrying yellow sand all over the sky, and struck Qiu Changyuan, who was in the front row of the four people, like lightning. Be careful. Lu Xuan shouted. The wind and thunder sword in his hand danced, and a sword energy rushed out quickly. In the clanging of the sword energy instantly changed into the form of an ancient beast, the owl bird. The heavy sword energy formed transparent wings, and the speed was a little faster. With a fierce sword intent, it rushed into the deep yellow tentacles. Roar. The deep yellow tentacles were twisted fiercely by the sword energy of the thousand owls, and turned into countless pieces in the air. For a moment, it was impossible to distinguish the yellow sand and the deep yellow fragments. The demon insect lurking underground, which was not discovered by the three people, roared in pain. The sound waves swept through, causing the surrounding rocks to collapse continuously. An ugly giant insect with countless limbs like a baby's arm drilled out from the depths of the soil, and its grey eyes looked at the four people with strong hatred. Thank you, fellow Taoist Lu. Everything happened too suddenly. It was not until the deep yellow tentacles were solved by Lu Xuan's sword energy that the three people reacted. Qiu Changyuan approached, with a trace of fear on his face, and said with lingering fear, the giant insect's ability to hide was too strong, and he didn't notice it until the tentacles appeared. But the tentacles attacked too quickly, and it was difficult to react correctly in a split second. If Lu Xuan hadn't come to his rescue, he would have been seriously injured. Deal with these monster insects first, there may be more inside. Lu Xuan said grimly. Chapter 543 Trump Card. Before Lu Xuan finished speaking, more than 10 dark yellow tentacles shot out from the soil like lightning, and attacked the four people. After being reminded by Lu Xuan, the three people were not as panicked as they were at the beginning. They used various means to resist the crazy attack of the dark yellow tentacles. The storage bag on Qiu Changyuan's waist flashed with spiritual light, and a shield covered with dense blue-black scales appeared in front of him. Spiritual power poured into the shield, and the area of the shield continued to increase, firmly blocking the dark yellow tentacles. A silver-white talisman quietly appeared in Mengyu's hand, and a thick iced wall rose up in front of her. Seeing the tentacles coming fiercely, Sun Yunming's crystal jade pendant on his neck shattered silently, and a spiritual shield covered him. As for Lu Xuan, although he had absolute confidence in his strong body, he did not want to expose it in front of the three people. The green shoes on his feet flashed with green light, and he cleverly avoided the attack of the tentacles with a knock that defied common sense. With a single wave of his hand, countless tiny sword energies formed a terrifying hurricane, with lightning and thunder, slicing the tentacles into pieces all over the sky. 7 ferocious giant insects appeared in front of the four people, their bloated bodies squeezed together. Countless white and tender short limbs on their bodies kept dancing, and dark yellow earth blades stabbed at Lu Xuan and others. Qiu Changyuan released a mantis monster with a third-grade aura. The mantis had a pair of limbs like a big knife, and the serrations on it looked extremely sharp. With a strong jump, it disappeared in an instant, and the big knife limbs fiercely scratched the surface of the giant insect's body, cutting off 2 pieces of white and tender arm limbs. Only 2 shallow wounds were left on the bloated body of the giant insect, and red and yellow blood oozed out and healed immediately. Be careful, this demon insect has a very thick skin. Qiu Changyuan's heart trembled, and he reminded the three people. His mantis monster's limbs were extremely sharp, not inferior to many third-grade flying swords. With a full strength attack, it only caused slight damage to the giant insect. It can be seen that the demon insect is difficult to deal with. There are probably 5 4th grade and 2 3rd grade ones. It's a bit difficult. Lu Xuan's spiritual sense swept over and saw through the aura of the 7 demon insects at a glance. Among the 4 people, Sun Yunming had the lowest cultivation level. He was already defeated by the crazy attack of the giant insect. A trace of caution appeared on his face, knowing that it was a critical moment. A piece of black broken blade appeared in front of him, and a mouthful of blood sprayed on the broken blade. The broken blade turned into a black light and sank into the body of a giant insect. The giant insect twisted wildly in pain. When the broken blade flew out of its body and tried to pierce its body again, a large amount of dark yellow pus spurted out of its mouth. The pus splashed on the black broken blade, and spots appeared instantly. With a sizzling sound, wisps of fishy yellow smoke floated out of the blade. My magic weapon. Seeing this, the thin old man hurriedly recalled the black broken blade. Looking at the marks of different sizes left on it, he felt extremely sad. This black broken blade was a treasure that he had obtained with great difficulty. It needed to be stimulated by blood essence, and was extremely powerful. He had thought that it could be used as a trump card to kill the enemy with one blow, but he did not expect it to be corroded and destroyed. This monster insect actually has this trick to corrode magic weapons. Lu Xuan thought. Fellow Taoists, let's change to magic or talismans to kill the monster. If you have any trump cards, use them as soon as possible, and make a quick decision. He sent a voice message to Qiyu Changyuan and the other 2. The 3 nodded slightly. Meng Yu's eyes flashed with a trace of hesitation. Soon, a red talisman appeared in front of him, and there was a lifelike phantom of a dragon in the talisman. The passionate dragon roar sounded, and a huge fire dragon, with blazing flames, rushed towards the ferocious giant insect. A 4-armed 6-eyed demon ape appeared in front of Qiyu Changyuan. Its body suddenly expanded several times. Its dark blue fist was full of fierce flames, and it blasted at the giant insect. Lu Xuan looked serious. 3 talismans shaped like sword tips appeared in his hands. His spiritual power was stimulated, and the sword energy inside gushed out, like a violent wind and huge waves, sweeping towards the remaining giant insects. 3 4th grade Xiaohei sword talismans were used together, and a sea of sword energy formed where the demon insects were. Even though they were huge, under such powerful sword energy, they were like wooden boats that could capsize at any time in the stormy waves. After only a few breaths, the giant insect was swallowed by the infinite sword energy, and blood and flesh fell all over the sky. The smell of blood could be smelled within a radius of dozens of feet. On the other side, Meng Yu's fire dragon talisman and Qiyu Changyuan's 4-armed 6-eyed demon ape each killed a demon insect. Brother Lu. Thanks to you, Brother Lu. The 3 of them approached Lu Xuan, and Qiyu Changyuan's address changed naturally from fellow Taoist to senior brother. Meng Yu and the others were also full of gratitude. I didn't expect Brother Lu to have such a powerful high-grade sword talisman. 3 4th grade sword talismans. Brother Lu is really generous. If it weren't for these 3 sword talismans, I'm afraid the 4 of us would be seriously injured, and there is even a possibility of falling here. Sun Yunming, who had the lowest cultivation and the fewest treasures, sighed sincerely. Thinking of his possible outcome, his eyes showed fear. Hey, before coming out, in order to improve my ability to save my life, I exchanged the spirit stones I had accumulated over the years for these 4th grade talismans from my fellow disciples in the sword hall. All my trump cards have been used here at once. Lu Xuan looked at the remaining subtle sword energy, and his tone revealed deep regret. However, successfully killing these monster insects can be regarded as making the best use of them, he said with a smile. Hearing this, the 3 of them expressed their gratitude again. Brother Lu, you have dealt with most of these demon insects, so you should choose the spoils first. Meng Yu suggested, and Qiyu Changyuan and the others had no objection. Most of these demon insects have a 4th grade aura, and they may have condensed demon cores in their bodies, preparing for the breakthrough of the 5th grade condensed demon pill. In addition, the demon insect skin is also a treasure, worth a lot of spiritual stones. Qiyu Changyuan came from the 10,000 Beasts sect, and knew a lot about demon insects, and said, The four people's spiritual consciousness carefully scanned the surrounding area and indeed found 3 earth yellow stone beads from the corpses of demon insects. The spiritual power was rich and extraordinary at first glance. The 7 demon insect skins were also dealt with, but because of the Xiaohe sword talisman, the skins were not very complete. I want a demon core, 3 demon insect skins, and all the demon insect flesh and blood collected. What do you think, 3 Taoist friends? Lu Xuan said in a deep voice. Okay, no objection. Brother Lu, it should be. The 3 looked at each other and nodded in agreement. There were also 2 demon cores and 4 skins, which were beyond their expectations. As for the flesh and blood of demon insects, they were just some scraps in the eyes of the 3 people, and their value was far less than that of demon cores and skins. In the process of dealing with the 7 demon insects this time, Lu Xuan's 3 4th grade sword talismans played a great role, and he also saved Qiu Changyan when the demon insects attacked. It was quite generous to leave so much for the 3 people. Lu Xuan put the spoils into the storage bag. A large amount of demon beast flesh and blood almost filled the storage bag. Fortunately, I prepared a few more, and then I will exchange them back into the gluttonous insect capsules later. He thought secretly, even the flesh and blood the size of a fist was not spared. There is no way. The demand for flesh and blood in the underworld courtyard is too great. It's not easy to support a family. Chapter 544. Once a boy. After the 4 divided the spoils, they fled quickly to prevent more demon insects from being attracted by the bloody smell of the same kind. In the next half month, Lu Xuan, Sun Yunming and the other 2 patrolled the edge of Black Star City. During this period, they occasionally encountered alienated demon beasts that were affected by foreign demons and lost their minds. They were all solved by the 4 people. The mission deadline has expired, and the 4 returned to Black Star City. After passing the inspection of the monks outside the protective formation, they entered the city. Finally, we are back safely. The 4 looked at each other, and their tense heartstrings finally relaxed. Outside the city, it is hard to say when a demon beast will attack, so you need to be on guard at all times, and can't relax for a moment. Back in the city, you can have time to breathe and relax. Thanks to senior brother Lu this time, otherwise it would be difficult to return to Black Star City intact. Meng Yu suddenly said. That's right, I didn't expect senior brother Lu, a spiritual plant master who rarely goes out to explore the secret realm, to have such a strong strength. It really exceeded my expectations. Sun Yunming said with a smile. Among the 4, he was born in the most ordinary family, had the lowest cultivation, and had the fewest treasures. He was extremely lucky to meet such a strong teammate as Lu Xuan and to return safely. Come and ask you for swordsmanship when you have time. Qiu Changyuan said suddenly. Welcome. Lu Xuan laughed heartily. Then 3 Taoist friends. Shall we say goodbye now? Goodbye. The 4 of them went their separate ways. When Lu Xuan was about to return to the small courtyard where they were, suddenly, an old voice sounded in his ears. Senior brother Lu, please stay. He looked back and saw that the thin old man had come to the back without knowing when and came to him in a few steps. Daoist son, is there anything else you need? Lu Xuan asked curiously. Nothing, I just suddenly remembered that during the search and cleanup, my brother obtained a lot of monster materials. Considering that this is your first time in Black Star City and you may not know much about the city, I want to introduce some ways to you, brother Lu, so that you can exchange more spirit stones. The Qingyuan sect where I am is near Black Star City, and I should be quite familiar with the ways inside. Sun Yunming said with a smile, with a flattering tone. Is that so? Then I'll have to trouble you, brother Sunday. Lu Xuan's thoughts drifted away, and he nodded in agreement. He had just arrived and didn't know anything about Black Star City. As Sun Yunming was a local snake, the 2 had team experience. With him leading the way, they could save a lot of time and energy in exchange for more spirit stones. Then please follow me, brother Lu. The old man smiled even more. This time with Lu Xuan, he saw the extraordinary qualities of this spiritual plant master from a big sect in front of him. He was proficient in swordsmanship and had a strong family background. He casually offered 3 4th grade sword talismans. In addition, he was kind to people, so he wanted to get to know him. So he used this as a pretext to get close to Lu Xuan and consolidate the relationship between the two. The two walked slowly along the streets of Black Star City. This is where the independent cultivators set up stalls. Most of them are key training cultivators. If senior brother Lou has any low-grade materials, you can leave them to me without worry. I will let our disciples deal with them to save time. There are some shops with good financial resources and good reputation at the end of the street. You can go to them to buy some precious monster materials. In addition, there are all kinds of people in Black Star City now. A large number of sect cultivators and some powerful independent cultivators gather here. At certain special times, the black market will be opened. If senior brother Lou is interested, you can tell me, and I will get you the qualification to enter. Sun Yunming introduced to Lu Xuan in a clear and orderly manner. Lu Xuan nodded and casually glanced at the independent cultivator stalls on both sides. The stall owners sensed the powerful aura of the two people and lowered their heads, fearing that they would upset the two foundation building masters. Suddenly, he paused and stopped in front of a stall. The stall was filled with low-grade materials, first and second-grade spiritual plants, snake bones, snake blood and other goods. The stall owner was a thin young man with a pale face and two thin slits in his eyes. A green python poked its head out of his sleeve and looked out indifferently. Noticing that a cultivator had stopped, the young man raised his head and was about to greet them when he sensed the foundation building aura of Lu Xuan and the other two. His face changed drastically and his eyes were half alert and half afraid. Two seniors, what do you need? He lowered his head deeply and said softly and stuffed the head of the green python back into his sleeve. His mind was full of thoughts and he was desperately trying to recall whether he had offended the foundation building cultivators. Seeing Lu Xuan stop, Sun Yunming slowed down his pace, although he didn't know the reason, and turned to the stall. Lu Xuan reached out and picked up a bottle of red and green snake blood. In the uneasy mood of the thin young man, and the corners of his mouth rose. Is this the blood of the jade water python? To answer you senior, it is the blood of the jade water python. The thin young man said, revealing two rows of sharp teeth. Is your name Ug? Lu Xuan asked softly. As soon as the voice fell, the young man's body trembled, and he bowed his head to admit, yes, I don't know how the senior knows me. After getting a satisfactory answer in his heart, Lu Xuan's mouth corners rose even more. Linayang Market, Jade Water Python Blood, I didn't expect to meet you here. He was filled with emotion, and he never thought that he would meet an old friend in Black Star City thousands of miles away many years later. When he was in Linayang Market, in order to collect snake blood for cultivating gyro vines, he met this young cultivator named Yuji under the guidance of his neighbor, and exchanged a lot of second-grade jade water python blood from his grandfather, who was good at catching snakes. The young man with eyes as sharp as a venomous snake has become a high-level key training cultivator. Lu. Senior Lu. Hearing Lu Xuan's reminder, the young man's mind seemed to be struck by thunder, and he instantly recalled the experience of more than 20 years ago. At that time, a spiritual plant master came to his house and ordered a large amount of second-grade green water python blood from his grandfather, which greatly improved the poor life of the grandfather and grandson. Yes, it was me. A trace of disbelief flashed in the young man's eyes. He remembered that Lu Xuan was only a mid-level key training cultivator at that time. Unexpectedly, in just more than 20 years, he had successfully broken through to the foundation building realm and became an existence he looked up to. Why did you come to Black Star City? Where is your grandfather? Lu Xuan asked curiously. Before, the market was attacked by monsters, and many monks died. Grandpa and I discussed and decided to change our living environment. After many twists and turns, we came to Black Star City. As for Grandpa, he was seriously injured after the monster attack and has never fully recovered. The journey was long and not smooth. After we arrived in Black Star City on the Chamber of Commerce's treasure ship, he forced himself to hunt snake monsters. In the end, new injuries and old diseases broke out at the same time, and he died of depression. Yuji's eyes flashed with grief. What a pity. Lu Xuan sighed. However, you can grow to this point today, which is worthy of your grandfather's spirit in heaven. He looked at Yuji, who had already practiced ki at a high level, and said with relief. Chapter 545 Gift of Treasure. When he saw the boy in Linayang Market, he vaguely remembered that the boy was only 13 or 14 years old. Now, at the age of more than 30, he has reached the high-level realm of key training, which is quite good among casual cultivators. Yuji heard this and smiled helplessly. "Senior, do you want to see how far you have grown?" he said silently in his heart. The foundation building realm is what he has dreamed of and thought about day and night. Even though he has already reached the high-level cultivation of key training, the distance between him and the foundation building cultivator is still like a natural moat. Xuan pondered for a moment, and his spiritual consciousness swept around. He casually set up a simple ban, covering the figures of the two people, and the outside world could not see clearly. "It is fate that we meet. Now it happens to be a chaotic world, so I will give you a few small things to give you more power to protect yourself." As soon as the voice fell, a small white jade bottle, a third-grade talisman, and a dark red stone bead appeared in front of him. The white jade bottle contains a bottle of second-grade soul-enriching pills. After taking them, you can slightly increase your spiritual power. The talisman is a third-grade water dragon talisman, and the stone bead is a third-grade blasting flame bead. It can be stimulated by spiritual power and instantly release a large range of flames, he said to Yuji with a smile. It was rare to see an old friend, and he was happy, so he casually gave him a few small treasures. These 3 treasures are not of much value to him at present. Soul-enriching pills can be opened in large quantities from the light group of water fireflies, and he also has the level of refining this pill at the master level. As for the water dragon talisman and the blasting flame bead, they are all opened from the light group of the second-grade spiritual plants he planted. After he dealt with most of them, there are still many left. He didn't want to give too many things. After all, Yuji was only a high-level key training. If the things were too valuable, it would be a crime to possess a treasure and bring him unnecessary trouble. "Thank you, Senior Lu. Thank you, Senior Lu." Yuji's face was filled with ecstasy. Just as he was about to kneel down, his knees were supported by a spiritual force. "No need to do that. Keep it well, and don't let anyone see that you have a third-grade treasure," Xuan said gently. "Yes, I will keep it well," Yuji promised solemnly, his expression unable to hide his excitement. The 3 treasures given by Xuan, the soul-enriching pill, can greatly increase his spiritual power in a short period of time, and the third-grade water dragon talisman and explosive flame pearl can serve as trump cards to save his life at a critical moment, which made him feel infinite gratitude to Xuan. "Okay, let's say goodbye. Take care of yourself." Xuan removed the restrictions and told the thin young man. The young man stopped in front of the stall and watched Xuan leave. "Brother Lu, did anything happen?" When they were a little further away from the stall, Sun Yunming took the initiative to ask. "Nothing. I just didn't expect to meet an old friend in Black Star City, so I chatted for a few words," Xuan said calmly. Sun Yunming seemed to be thinking about something. "Brother Lu, is the young stall owner just now a casual cultivator?" "Yes." Xuan nodded in reply. "If you don't mind, I can bring him into my Kingyuan sect." Being able to practice to the high level of key training at such a young age shows that he has good talent. The world is so chaotic now, it's better to have a place to belong. "What do you think, Senior Brother Lu? Is that so?" Xuan pondered. "Okay, then I'll leave it to you, Brother Sunday." He knew that the old man was doing him a favor, but for the sake of their previous friendship with Snake Blood, he didn't mind helping Yuji. After all, evil demons are everywhere now, and human lives are like weeds. Under the protection of the sect, the possibility of survival is much greater. Under the leadership of Sun Yunming, he came to a 4-story building. The building was magnificent, and there were 3 large gilded characters on the door plaque. Jindao Pavilion. Senior Brother Lu, this Jindao Pavilion is one of the most famous shops in the nearby area. It has fair prices and a good reputation. You can sell the monster materials you want to sell to them. "Thank you for your hard work, Brother Sunday," Xuan said with a smile. As the two were about to enter the gate, a charming female cultivator came out to greet them. "I was wondering why the magpies kept calling outside the house today. It turns out that fellow Daoist son is coming over. I'm sorry for not welcoming you." The female cultivator's fragrance filled her nose, her eyes sparkled, and she was full of charm. "Fellow Daoistian, I just came along for the ride. This Senior Brother Lu is the main customer." Sun Yunming said with a chuckle. Then why don't you introduce me to fellow Daoist Sun? The female cultivator looked at Lu Xuan with a smile. Fellow Daoist Lu Xuan, a disciple of the Xianjian sect, has a cultivation level of the middle stage of foundation building, and is very powerful. The thin old man introduced briefly. So it's fellow Daoist Lu, welcome. The female cultivator greeted warmly, and led Lu Xuan and the others into the Jindao pavilion. I wonder if fellow Daoist Lu can use me? The female cultivator surnamed Jin said with a pleasing look. I want to process a batch of monster materials from fellow Daoist Jin. They are mainly 3rd grade, but there are also many 4th grade ones. Lu Xuan looked at the house and continued. Please take me to a more open place. The female cultivator was delighted when she heard this. She immediately realized that a big business was coming. She led Lu Xuan and the others upstairs and served them the finest spiritual fruits and tea. Lu Xuan flicked his hand, and piles of monster materials flew out of different storage bags and appeared on the ground. So many. Although the female cultivator was knowledgeable, she was still surprised when she saw the monster materials piled everywhere on the ground. Please give me an estimate, fellow Daoist Jin. During the patrol and cleanup mission during this period, Lu Xuan contributed the most. He was the one who dealt with the monsters and other things encountered, so he naturally got the most materials. Soon, 2 experienced Jindao pavilion managers entered the house together and evaluated the approximate value of each monster material in order. We have calculated that the materials are worth about 28,000 low-grade spirit stones. Here is the list. Please have a look, Brother Lu. The female cultivator handed Lu Xuan a piece of paper with the origin, quantity and corresponding value of each material recorded on it. Lu Xuan quickly scanned it and felt that the price was reasonable, so he nodded in agreement. Okay, that's it. This is 280 medium grade spirit stones. Please keep them, Brother Lu. A small pile of crystal spirit stones with a bright spiritual light floated in front of Lu Xuan. I earned a lot of spirit stones, but this is also based on the premise that I have many treasures in my hands, a strong cultivation, and a large number of monsters hunted, so I earned such a large amount of spirit stones. Lu Xuan glanced at it and put it into his storage bag. If Brother Lu still has materials to deal with in the future, you can come to our Jindao pavilion. The price must be among the best in Black Star City. Before leaving, the charming female cultivator said to Lu Xuan with a reluctant tone. Okay. If fellow Daoist Sun recommends, I will definitely choose Jindao Pavilion as my first choice. Lu Xuan said with a smile. He and Sun Yunming left communication talismans with each other and returned to their own courtyard. Chapter 546 Black Market. After coming to the outside of the courtyard, Lu Xuan looked around the formation that covered the entire courtyard. After confirming that there was nothing unusual, he entered the courtyard. The formation he set up was just an ordinary 3rd grade protective formation. The 5th grade illusion 5 element formation that he had previously opened was left in Jianmen Town to protect the underworld courtyard. There was nothing valuable in this courtyard in Black Star City, it just served a simple protective purpose. After entering the courtyard and closing the formation, Lu Xuan finally relaxed completely. It's better to stay in the sect and farm than to hunt monsters. He missed the simple and fulfilling farming life in the sect before. Although the monster's flesh and blood harvest is quite a lot, and I earned more than 200 medium grade spirit stones, farming is still more cost effective. He rested for half a day, and he was really itching, so he came to the yard, took out a pile of wuling soil from the gluttonous insect sack, and evenly spread it on the surface of the spiritual field in the yard. Then, he took out more than 200 water firefly grass spirit seeds he brought. Performing the earth attraction technique, the structure of the spiritual soil changed slightly, and long and thin cracks appeared. Lu Xuan placed a long and thin blue spiritual seed into the crack, and the spiritual soil flowed slightly, covering the spiritual seed. He followed the same method, and planted all the water firefly grass spiritual seeds one by one. The spiritual power in his body circulated, and the clouds over the spiritual field surged. Soon, strands of spiritual rain fell, and seeped into the water firefly grass spiritual seeds in the spiritual field. His mind was focused on the spiritual seeds in the shallow layer of the spiritual soil, and thoughts emerged from his mind. Water firefly grass, a second grade spiritual plant. Finally, I can find something to do. I can't help it. My talent is too poor, and I can't practice. I can only plant spiritual plants to maintain the appearance of practicing. Lu Xuan smiled, feeling the more than 200 water firefly grass spiritual seeds in the spiritual field slowly absorbing the faint spiritual energy in the spiritual rain, and his heart was extremely satisfied. After he initially cultivated all the water firefly grass spiritual seeds, he took out 4 arrow vines from the gluttonous insect capsule. Fortunately, there is the space treasure of the gluttonous insect capsule, which can maintain the vitality of the spiritual plant very well. Otherwise, if it is left for a period of time, it will definitely cause considerable damage to the spiritual plant. If it affects the light ball reward, it will be too late to cry. Lu Xuan smiled and said to himself, arrow vines do not require a high growth environment, and the cultivation conditions are relatively simple. They are all in a rapid growth stage, so he brought them out from the sect. Among the 4 arrow vines, one has the fastest growth progress and has entered the mature stage. The other 3 were planted the latest, and because they were not cultivated from seedlings, the progress was a little slower. Lu Xuan performed the instant arrow technique, and a stream of spiritual arrows shot into the arrow vines. Suddenly, the small arrows on the vines that were drooping weakly suddenly stood up, exuding a burst of upward power. Lu Xuan performed various basic spiritual plant techniques one by one, and then returned to the house to practice the Shenyanging and Po Wan Tong technique and other techniques. Soon, 10 days passed. Since he had just returned to the city, Black Star City did not immediately assign him a new task, giving him some time to breathe. Lu Xuan wished for this. He stayed in the small courtyard every day to cultivate spiritual plants, and occasionally went out to meet Sun Yunming and others he met. On this day, when he was performing the spirit rain technique on the newly sprouted water firefly grass, a talisman flew outside the courtyard. Senior brother Lu, come and gather. Several senior brothers have returned from outside the city. It's a rare opportunity to have such a good opportunity. A slightly familiar voice came from the talisman. Lu Xuan recognized that the owner of the voice was a disciple of the middle stage of foundation building in the sect. The two had some friendship on the way here. He was not in a position to refuse and came to a white courtyard according to the location on the talisman. In the courtyard, more than 10 disciples of the Heavenly Sword sect had gathered together and communicated with each other. Look, the most powerful spiritual plant master in the sect is here. Hello, senior brother Lu. Junior brother Lu is here. Everyone greeted Lu Xuan warmly when they saw him. Lu Xuan's attainments as a spiritual plant master have long been well known among his fellow cultivators, and almost everyone is interested in making friends with him. After all, everyone wants to own a high quality sword grass, and maybe Lu Xuan can help cultivate one someday. I don't deserve it, fellow disciples, you are too kind. Lu Xuan clasped his fists and smiled embarrassedly. He greeted each other with his fellow disciples, and then stayed quietly in the corner. Senior brother Lu, where did you go a while ago? A simple and honest young cultivator approached him and asked him. Junior brother Guo, I took on a mission to go out of the city to clear monsters, and stayed in the outer edge of the city for a while. Lu Xuan remembered the name of the young man and explained. No wonder I haven't seen you in Black Star City. My fellow disciples have asked me where you are. Oh. Which senior brother is so concerned about me? Lu Xuan's heart moved, and he asked curiously. It's senior brother Zhao. He may be worried about your identity as a spiritual plant master, and afraid that you will encounter some danger. The young man said without hesitation. Thank you for your concern. Lu Xuan heard the words and nodded. I hope senior brother Lu returns safely. After all, the current situation is so bad that news of the death of disciples from major sects will spread from time to time. The young man's face showed worry. That's true, but my fellow disciples should all know that I'm cautious by nature. Although I have little experience in fighting and don't have any powerful treasures, I will never put myself in danger. Lu Xuan laughed and said self-deprecatingly. After a half-day gathering with the monks of his own sect, he returned to the yard. Since I have more free time now, I can go to the black market that Sun Yunming mentioned and take a look. Maybe I can find some unknown spiritual seeds from it. He suddenly had an idea and thought of exploring the black market in Black Star City. Black Star City is located near the Black Demon Abyss. There are many monsters and evil spirits. Naturally, there will be many strange things. Maybe there are some mysterious unknown spiritual seeds. The more Lu Xuan thought about it, the more he felt that it was very likely, so he sent a communication talisman to Sun Yunming to get the entry qualification and the detailed opening time from him. When the time came, he first found an unmanned corner, used the Void Nightmare Eyes to confirm that there was no prying, put on the 1000 chapter weird mask, transformed into an ordinary looking mid-stage foundation building cultivator, and came to the location of the black market. The black market is located in a ruin in Black Star City. There are broken walls everywhere, but it can be vaguely seen that there is a powerful formation. Occasionally, there would be cultivators. Most of them were at the foundation building stage, with 1 or 2 high-level key training cultivators, who would enter the broken wall, activate a jade seal in their hands, and instantly enter the well-hidden formation. Almost every cultivator used their skills and magic tools to conceal their appearance, but under Lu Xuan's illusion-breaking pupil technique, he could still roughly see their spiritual power. They are all quite cautious. Judging from the posture, they have come to the right place. Lu Xuan thought secretly. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 547, Fangbone Demon. Lu Xuan observed for a while, then came to the pile of broken walls, and took out a jade seal given to him by Sun Yunming from his storage bag. After activating it, the jade seal burst out layers of spiritual light, which fell on the wall and caused ripples. A passage that could only accommodate one person appeared in front of Lu Xuan. He did not hesitate, and hurried into the passage. What came into view was a dim area. There were not many monks in it, about 100 people, all observing the many materials on the stalls. Lu Xuan was silent, walking slowly on the small road between the stalls, concentrating on observing the goods on both sides of the stalls. The treasures sold there were of a completely different style from those outside Black Star City. There were all kinds of strange materials, broken and even black and red blood-stained magic arrays, and a lot of yin energy. It was not a serious thing at first glance. He looked around and finally stopped in front of a stall. Daoyao, what is the origin of this face bell-shaped magic weapon? The stall owner's face was hidden in a thick black fog. Lu Xuan pointed to a magic weapon on the stall and asked him. The magic weapon is a dark blue mottled bell, which is densely packed with countless ghosts. When approaching, the ears seem to ring with endless ghosts wailing. This is a 4th grade magic weapon, the soul-slaying bell, which seals countless ghosts and grievances. When facing the enemy, you can release them to interfere with and besiege the opponent. The stall owner introduced it to Lu Xuan in a rough voice. I'm somewhat interested. How much is it? Lu Xuan looked at the dark blue bell from left to right and asked curiously. Recently, there are a lot of monster meat, blood and other things collected, but because it has always been a group activity, it is not easy to use the soul guiding lamp to summon souls, so there are not many ghosts and grievances. In the underworld courtyard, the holy infant fruit, the yin crying wood, and the soul burning flower are all big soul eaters. The ghosts in this soul slaying bell magic weapon can be used for a period of transition. If you are interested, you can take it for 6,000 lower grade spirit stones. 6,000, a 4th grade magic weapon is a little more expensive. Although I don't know how many ghosts there are in this soul destroying bell, it can only deal with those low level cultivators. If it is used against cultivators of the same level, it is estimated that the effect will be minimal. How about this? 5,200 spirit stones. What do you think? Lu Xuan followed the usual practice and chopped a big knife. The two argued for a while and finally made a deal for 5,600 lower grade spirit stones. Don't worry too much about ghosts for the time being. He put the soul destroying bell magic weapon into the storage bag and sighed secretly. Others use this kind of evil magic weapon to attack directly, with vicious means. But I use it to cultivate those evil spiritual plants without getting blood on it. It's really too kind. No way. Everything is for farming. Xuan was filled with emotion. If people knew that he used the rare and precious 4th grade evil magic weapon to cultivate spiritual plants, they would definitely be scolded for wasting natural resources. It's a pity that others don't understand the fun of a spiritual plant master. After buying the soul-destroying bell, Xuan was in a good mood. He felt that the trip was worthwhile and continued to observe carefully at various stalls. Suddenly, the demon ghost vine that had shrunk and hidden in his robe stretched out a small section of grey-black vines and gently tapped Xuan's elbow. Xuan's mind was focused on it, and he immediately got the idea it conveyed. You said there was a special spiritual seed in the place we just passed by. He frowned slightly. What kind of spiritual seed can make a spiritual plant master like me who cultivates countless spiritual plants unable to distinguish it? Or thought flashed through his mind, and he finally chose the demon ghost vine that was extremely sensitive to spiritual seeds. You know, many rare and high-grade spiritual plants in the spiritual field were found by it. He pretended to turn back and inadvertently came to a stall. The materials on the stall were strange and bizarre, including various demon and evil skeletons, blood essence, skin bags, etc. It was impossible to tell which thing had the shadow of a spiritual seed. The stall owner was a middle-aged monk with a dull expression, but Xuan sensed a dangerous aura from him. He did not dare to investigate further and looked down at the various materials on the stall. Wow, can I take a closer look? I'm not very familiar with these materials, he asked the stall owner. The stall owner nodded slightly in agreement. Xuan pretended to pick up a piece of leather with strange pupils, examined it carefully, put it down, and continued to examine another material. Until he picked up a fang-like skeleton. The demon ghost vine hiding in his robe gently tapped his arm. Xuan was happy in his heart, but his expression did not change at all. The skeleton in his hand was like a broken fang, with a dark light on the surface, and there seemed to be an evil aura hidden inside. I still can't see any spiritual seeds. Although thinking this in his heart, Xuan decided to trust the demon ghost vine once, and asked out loud. Wow, where did this fang come from? What is its use? It was obtained from hunting a demon. It contains a strong demonic energy, and is likely to be a 5th grade material. For some cultivators who practice demonic arts, it is a rare treasure. The dull middle-aged cultivator said slowly. If you are interested, you can take it for 10,000 low-grade spirit stones. This is too expensive. If it is really a 5th grade material, this price is fair, but Dao himself can't guarantee it. How can I dare to take that risk? Xuan shook his head, not quite agreeing with the price. How about this? I will buy this piece of skeleton for 7,000 spirit stones. 8,000, the lowest price. The middle-aged cultivator simply left a sentence, and then stopped talking, standing quietly behind the stall. Xuan tried to bargain again, but seeing that the stall owner was unmoved, he had to agree. Okay, 8,000 is 8,000. He took out 80 medium-grade spirit stones, handed them to the middle-aged cultivator, and took the piece of dark fang skeleton from him. After buying the unknown spirit seed, Xuan continued to wander around the black market for a while. When he didn't find any new treasures he wanted, he returned to Black Star City. He found an unmanned corner, restored his original appearance, and returned to the courtyard. I want to see what you are. Even I misjudged you. He came to the spiritual field, and couldn't wait to take out the dark skeleton and plant it in the spiritual soil. His mind was focused on the skeleton, and a thought emerged in his mind. Fangbone Demon Seed, 6th grade, contains a trace of the origin of the foreign demon Fangbone Demon. Usually, the demon seed is planted in the body of the skeleton demon under its command, to absorb all kinds of magical bone marrow essence. After maturity, it can absorb and refine the demon seed, seize the special demon energy inside, greatly promote its own growth, and comprehend the innate magical powers. Use the flesh and blood body as the spiritual field, various skeletons as nutrients, and form the fangbone magical powers. 6th grade. The thought disappeared. Xuan was overjoyed at first, and soon fell into deep thought again. Demon seed. What is that? Judging from the information that appears in my mind, it is too overbearing and powerful. He couldn't help but think. Chapter 548 The Great Passage. After learning the detailed information of this unknown skeleton demon seed, Xuan was a little stunned for a moment. He had cultivated countless spiritual plants before, and most of them were planted in spiritual soil to absorb spiritual energy. High-grade spiritual plants also had some special growth conditions, but spiritual soil and spiritual energy were the basis. Even the many evil spiritual plants in the underworld courtyard could not escape this category. Although many evil spiritual plants had some underworld effects during their growth, even such as the 100 Eyes weird wood and the holy infant fruit, if cultivated for a long time, they would have an invisible adverse effect on the spiritual plant master. But those were some passive effects, and compared with the fangbone demon seed in front of him, they were nothing at all. This demon seed can be directly implanted into the body of the living, with its flesh and blood as the spiritual field and the skeleton as nutrients, to feed the demon seed until it matures. As the carrier of its cultivation, the result of the demon seed after maturity can be imagined. It is worthy of being an out-of-domain demon. Even the way of cultivating demon seeds is so domineering and vicious. Should I plant this fangbone demon seed? Xuan fell into deep thought. If you want to plant it, you must find a demon or evil spirit that is suitable for implanting the demon seed, and then nourish the demon seed with various bone essences. If the timing is right, it's not a bad idea to plant it. I don't want the light ball reward, I just want to see what the demon seed will look like when it matures. Xuan thought secretly in his heart, temporarily put the fangbone demon seed in a jade box, and then sealed it with several evil repelling and isolation talismans, and put it into the gluttonous insect bag. Soon, it was time to distribute tasks again. It's not appropriate to join the team like last time. Take on tasks such as patrolling inside and outside the city and clearing monsters. Maybe I can go deeper alone. Xuan thought secretly in his heart. It didn't help him much to act with more people. Instead, he felt a sense of restraint. A large number of treasures were inconvenient to use, and some materials such as the souls of the monsters killed were wasted. He decided to try to act alone this time. Through the observation of the last mission, even if he went a little deeper, the monsters and evil spirits he encountered were within the controllable range, and he could easily deal with them. He did it as soon as he thought of it. Without hesitation, he found the residence of Zalki, the highest level cultivator of the Xianjian sect who stayed in Black Star City. Junior brother Lu, what do you want to talk to me about? Zalki saw Xuan and a kind smile appeared on his face. Junior brother Zal, I came here this time to discuss the mission with you. Why, Junior brother Lu, you want to take a mission that is easier than last time? That may be a bit difficult. After all, your cultivation level in the middle stage of foundation building is already quite good in Black Star City. If you stay in the city to do some patrol missions, although it is easy, it will also cause criticism from other cultivators. No, senior brother Zal, I don't want to get extra care this time. On the contrary, I want to get a chance to go deep into the city to hunt monsters. Why do you have such an idea, junior brother Lu? Zalki was stunned. As far as I know, you are not good at fighting. If you go deeper, you may encounter some danger. Junior brother Lu, please consider it again. Xuan shook his head and said righteously. Brother, after seeing the tragic scenes caused by those demonized monsters and evil spirits, I was extremely angry. Now I just want to kill more monsters and evil spirits to make myself feel better. Zalki was in awe when he heard this. I really admire you for thinking this way, junior brother Lu. However, if junior brother makes any mistakes, I will not be able to explain to those giant uncles and true transmission brothers after returning to the sect. Brother Zal, don't worry. My cultivation in the middle stage of foundation building is real. In addition, I prepared a few good trump cards for myself before coming out. I'm always cautious and will not put myself in danger. Besides, if I don't take this opportunity to hone my fighting experience, how can I kill more monsters and evil spirits? Xuan said righteously. His acting skills were so superb that he was almost moved by himself. Okay, then I will go and tell them. It shouldn't be a big problem. Zhaoqi, who has completed the foundation building, still has this right as the leader of the Xianjian sect's garrison mission. A few days later, a talisman came to Lu Xuan's house and vibrated outside the formation. Lu Xuan, who was performing the spirit rain technique on the young shoots of water fireflies, stopped his action and took the talisman. Sure enough, the task format changed, and he was asked to act alone, going deeper into the city, mainly to clean up the monsters and evil spirits that appeared. Finally, I can let go. A smile appeared on Lu Xuan's face. After cultivating the many spiritual plants in the spiritual field, he came to the outside of Black Star City alone. When he came to the outside of the city, he found that there were not a few cultivators who acted alone like this. Most of them had sufficient confidence in their own strength, and their range of activities was basically 100 miles away from Black Star City, which increased a lot. At the same time, the risk also increased. After all, this place was close to the periphery of the Black Demon Abyss, and the monsters and evil spirits that could appear here would be generally stronger. After Lu Xuan went deep into a distance, his keen spiritual sense swept over, and he did not detect any abnormal breath within a radius of several miles. With a calm mind, or thought came to his mind. Suddenly, a thin crack appeared in the sky. A grey-white pupil emerged from the crack, swept below, and then disappeared. He raised his hand, and a fine crack also appeared on his palm. A grey-white eyeball the size of a thumb's fingertip stood out, sharing the vision observed by the Void Nightmare Eye with Lu Xuan. With the most powerful scout, the Void Nightmare Eye, the safety index has risen sharply. Lu Xuan thought secretly, and then took out the gluttonous insect sac. The spiritual consciousness penetrated into it, and a light red meatball fell to the ground, jumped high, and stopped for a long time. It was the disaster level evil flesh spirit god that had been placed in the gluttonous insect sac. The light red meatball rolled around on the ground, and the pink-white pupil stayed at the top, staring at Lu Xuan with a bit of resentment. The thin light red flesh floated in the air like water grass, revealing many sharp cracks inside that were crying for food. I knew you were starving. Don't worry, I'll give you food right away. Lu Xuan couldn't help laughing when he saw the flesh spirit god like this. There is a giant Zenran in Black Star City. The courtyard is protected by a formation. He was afraid that he could not cover up the aura of this disaster level young evil spirit, so he never released it. Until today's action, the pale red meatball had the opportunity to have a big meal. Monster meat buffet, all kinds of 3rd grade and 4th grade monsters, including many alien species, large quantity and full. Lu Xuan waved his hand, and a large amount of monster flesh appeared on the ground, surrounding the pale red meatball. The pink and white pupils on the top of the pale red meatball's head turned around, and it was a little hard to see for a while. Its flesh and skin opened up, and cracks with sharp teeth appeared one after another, sucking hard at the many flesh and blood around it. Suddenly, all the flesh and blood turned into blood mist all over the sky, and all penetrated into the body of the flesh spirit god. Chapter 549. It was not the work of a righteous monk. In the dark forest, ancient trees towered to the sky, and all kinds of strange noises came from everywhere. Lu Xuan stood quietly beside a huge spiritual tree with a diameter of more than half a meter, and a small hollow bone ball floated in front of him. Suddenly, the dense white bone ball changed instantly, and turned into a white bone shield. With a bang, it blocked a thick black snake that attacked from behind the spiritual tree. Just when the 3rd grade demon snake wanted to escape, the white bone shield continued to change, and turned into a white bone network, entangling the demon snake, tightening it more and more until the demon snake was dying. The freshest buffet, eat more. Lu Xuan smiled at the pale red meatball at his feet. While the meat spirit god absorbed the blood mist transformed from the demon snake's flesh and blood, a strange lantern appeared in his hand. A pale candle in the lantern seemed to sense something, causing the countless slender lamp tassels below like tentacles to sway slightly. Lu Xuan injected a trace of spiritual power, and the pale flame on the candle burned even more. The soul of the demon snake that had just died gradually revealed its shape, and it looked like it would dissipate at any time in the air. I'll find you a place to live as a ghost. In return, when I need you, it's not too much to use you as nutrients for my spiritual plants in the underworld, right? Lu Xuan said lightly, watching this 4th grade soul guiding lamp magic weapon absorb the demon snake ghost into the lantern, turning it into one of the countless resentful souls densely packed under the candle. The good thing about acting alone is that you can absorb the souls of dead monsters and not let them go to waste. Although the process is not quite in line with the identity of a righteous cultivator, as a spiritual plant master, I can make full use of every bit of resources to cultivate spiritual plants. There is nothing wrong with that, right? At least it is not used to refine sinister magic tools and techniques to harm other cultivators. Lu Xuan thought shamelessly. He has been in this area for half a month. During this period, he has hunted and killed many alienated monsters and evil spirits, making the flesh spirit god completely round and swelled into a perfect sphere. With the void nightmare eyes, he could observe the surroundings. When he found that a cultivator was near him, he restrained his behavior and avoided it intentionally, so he had never met other cultivators. He was not afraid of being discovered by others, such as the flesh spirit god, the soul guiding lamp, the white bone demon puppet, and other evil beings, so he did not deliberately hide his breath or change his appearance. After eating the pale red meatballs, Lu Xuan continued to patrol the area. That person seems to be a fellow disciple. Suddenly, he stopped and looked at the prominent grey-white pupil in his hand. Through the vision, shared by the void nightmare eyes that kept floating in the sky, he saw the figures of two cultivators, one of whom was quite familiar, and had met him once. Some time ago, many spirit beasts in the Wanyeo cave were invaded and polluted by a strange insect called the heart-bending Viper. Zenran Kangwu invited Lu Xuan to check, and met a senior brother who was good at beast control, and had perfect foundation building, named Chen Luo. He had never seen the other person next to him. The two looked around, as if searching for something. Should I go up and say hello? Lu Xuan hesitated. It was rare to see a fellow disciple, and he was his senior brother. It would be impolite to avoid him deliberately. But he and senior brother Chen Luo did not get along well. After solving the problem of the invasion of the heart-bending Viper, he asked him for a book of ancient books on strange insects, but Lu Xuan politely refused. Junior brother Lu, what a coincidence, I actually met you here. While he was hesitating, Chen Luo's voice rang in his ears. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Lu Xuan with a hint of joy on his face. Senior brother Chen, it's really a coincidence that I can meet you in this wilderness. Lu Xuan looked at the cold-tempered senior brother in front of him, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. He quietly clenched his fists to cover his grey eyes, but he was secretly alert in his heart. The cultivator with Chen Luo disappeared. I went to Black Star City for something, and was about to rush back to the Black Demon Abyss. I didn't expect to meet you here. Chen Luo explained with a smile. My cultivation is average, so I dare not enter the Black Demon Abyss. I can only hunt some ordinary monsters and evil spirits here. Brother, are you going to the Black Demon Abyss alone? I wish I had your strength. Lu Xuan asked casually. Yes, I'm alone. Chen Luo replied simply. He looked at Lu Xuan, and the smile on his gloomy face became even stronger, and he changed the subject. Junior brother Lu, last time you said there was an ancient book that recorded information about various strange insects and beasts. Can you show it to me? He walked slowly towards Lu Xuan. I remember telling you that I borrowed that ancient book from a Taoist friend and returned it to him many years ago. Please don't force me. Lu Xuan replied calmly. With your soul strength, even after so many years, it shouldn't be a problem to write it down, right? Otherwise, soul searching is no joke. Chen Luo looked sinister, looked at Lu Xuan coldly, and slowly drew out a dark long sword. Brother, what do you mean by that? Don't you know how great a sin it is to harm a fellow disciple? Lu Xuan said solemnly. As long as no one in the sect sees it, who would think it was me? It seems that brother is well prepared. Or thought flashed through Lu Xuan's mind. During the last gathering of fellow disciples, a fellow disciple told him that someone was trying to find out about him. It must be the person in front of him. Brother, don't think about stalling for time. I have already set up spies everywhere here. Brother, you are at the middle stage of foundation building, so you are no match for me. Tell me the contents of the ancient book honestly, and I can give you a decent ending. Otherwise, I'm afraid you will suffer the pain of soul searching, which is not a pleasant feeling. Chen Luo was full of confidence. When it came to the problem of spirit beasts last time, Lu Xuan easily found the mind-obsessed VIP and proposed a solution, which made him, who was obsessed with strange insects and beasts, develop a strong possessive desire and wanted to get the ancient book mentioned by Lu Xuan. After being politely rejected by Lu Xuan, he had the idea of killing people to steal the treasure. After investigating Lu Xuan's cultivation strength, this idea became even stronger. According to him, Lu Xuan was only in the middle stage of foundation building. He stayed in the sect for a long time and rarely explored the secret realm to seek opportunities. Even his cultivation was mainly built up by pills. The only thing worth praising was his perfect level of spiritual plants. But how powerful can a spiritual plant master be? With this idea in mind, when Lu Xuan left the sect, he deliberately inquired about relevant information. When he learned that Lu Xuan came to Black Star City, he followed him. In his mind, getting the ancient book was a sure thing, and the only difference was the means used to get it. Lu Xuan sighed. To harm your fellow disciples for a treasure, and even use such a sinister technique as soul searching, senior brother Chen, this is not what a righteous cultivator does. He shook his head and looked at the gloomy cultivator with a bit of contempt in his eyes. I'm not in a good mood today, so I can only update once. It doesn't count as a leave, and I'll make it up tomorrow. Chapter 550, Cleaning Up the House. Junior brother Lu is so naive. What is the right path or wrong path? Chen Luo sneered. Fellow Daoist Chen, what are you talking about with your fellow disciples? This place is not far from the Black Demon Abyss. It is better to fight quickly to avoid any trouble. A deep voice sounded, and then a tall and burly cultivator quietly emerged from behind Lu Xuan. The cultivator looked fierce, but he was as light as a swallow when walking, without revealing any breath. It was not until he was close to Lu Xuan that he could be detected. Just kill him and search his storage bag. He looked at Lu Xuan, who was only in the middle stage of foundation building, with a bit of contempt in his eyes. I'm worried that my junior brother won't be able to find the ancient book in his storage bag. If I search his soul, I might miss the relevant information if I'm not careful, so I specifically asked him for it first. However, looking at junior brother Lu Xuan's appearance, I guess he won't be able to hand over the ancient book to me smoothly. In this case, I can only force a soul search. Chen Luo's spiritual power fluctuations became more and more turbulent, and the gorgeous lines on his face kept moving. Fellow Daoist Zeng, you have a strong body and are good at tracking. If my junior brother escapes, please catch him. This tall and burly cultivator is also at the perfect foundation building stage like him. He is a physical cultivator with an extremely strong body. The two of them seemed to have completely ignored Lu Xuan and discussed as if no one was around. Lu Xuan lowered his head slightly, looked at his toes, and remained silent, with sword talismans in his sleeves ready to be slaughtered. He looked like he was ready to be bullied. Brother Chen, you colluded with outsiders, intending to harm your fellow disciples and seize their treasures. You deserve to die. Today, I will clean up the door for my uncle in the discipline hall. He suddenly raised his head and said with a firm look, Heh, Brother Lu is really interesting. You should consider closing the door to your sea of consciousness first, or you will suffer the pain of soul annihilation later. Chen Luo seemed to be amused by Lu Xuan's words. He chuckled and gently patted a black spirit beast bag on his waist. Buzz! A group of ferocious giant bees flew out quickly. The giant bees had sharp fangs and a dark stinger on their backs. They were poisonous at first glance. Each giant bee had the strength of a third-grade demon beast. A large group of them made a buzzing noise and attacked Lu Xuan. The noise entered Lu Xuan's ears, making him feel dizzy, tired, and unable to muster up energy. Why are you yelling so loudly? Lu Xuan scolded, opened his mouth, and a translucent gem appeared in the depths of his throat. Layers of transparent ripples appeared, turning into an excited dragon roar. He had dealt with countless dragons before, and the Mirage Orb had long recorded the roars of many dragons. At this moment, it was like a roar from a truly high-grade dragon. The rolling sound waves were like a raging storm, blowing the swarm of giant bees into pieces. Even Chen Luo and the other person in the distance were greatly impacted, and their spiritual power was constantly churning. My spiritual insect. Seeing that the giant bee he had carefully raised was shot down by Lu Xuan in one shot, Chen Luo felt very sad in his heart and made a strange hissing sound in his mouth, trying to drive the giant bee back. HMPH. Lu Xuan snorted coldly, and a long and thin crack suddenly appeared in the air. A huge grey-white pupil jumped out of the crack, staring at Chen Luo and the other person and the swarm of bees below. Many illusions suddenly appeared in front of the two people and the group of demon insects. Lu Xuan seized this fleeting opportunity, and the wind and thunder sword in his hand turned into a black light, which passed through all the giant bees and insects at once. The arcs jumped, and the charred insect corpses fell to the ground. On the other side, the two foundation building perfect cultivators who were trapped in the illusion knew the danger, and they all used various means to regain their sanity. You actually hid so deeply. A trace of fear flashed in Chen Luo's eyes. He thought that with his foundation building perfect realm, it would be easy to deal with Lu Xuan, who was only in the middle stage of foundation building and rarely fought. Unexpectedly, with just a face-to-face, Lu Xuan's magical dragon roar killed the giant bee spirit insect he had raised for many years with thunder. And that evil pupil could actually instantly pull two foundation building perfect cultivators into the endless illusion. Thinking of this, he looked at the fierce cultivator, and his respect for Lu Xuan was raised to the highest level. The gorgeous patterns on Chen Luo's face broke free from his cheeks and merged into the air. Lu Xuan's keen sense of consciousness detected a strange aura around him, as if an invisible poisonous snake was hiding in the dark and spying on him. As for the tall monk, his body continued to expand and instantly became a giant 2 meters tall, with muscles knotted all over his body, red all over, and a hot aura gushing out of his body. There was a hot liquid like magma flowing down his fist, as if a punch could smash a mountain into powder. Transparent monster? Lu Xuan's heart moved, and a banner covered with countless filthy things appeared in his hand. The sky was full of filthy air and filthy things swarmed out, dyeing the surrounding area into a filthy world. A transparent long snake appeared under the pollution of the Wanhu banner. Go, spear. At the moment, when the transparent long snake appeared, the white bone magic puppet treasure in Lu Xuan's hand turned into a spear, extending at a high speed, and pierced the transparent long snake. At this moment, his spiritual sense detected a terrifying figure coming in front of him in an instant, and the red fist was like a mountain pressing down on his head, smashing directly at Lu Xuan's head. Come on. Lu Xuan either advanced or retreated, and his muscles turned into crystal jade, blocking the red giant fist. Under the huge impact, the rocks on both sides collapsed one after another, and the trees fell one by one. The magical sound wave treasure, the pupil, and the flag are two high-grade evil artifacts. With only the flesh body, they can block the physical cultivator at the perfect stage of foundation building. What kind of monster is this? Chen Luo was shocked and made the right decision in a flash. A huge four-winged monster bird appeared at his feet. He jumped up, not caring about the physical cultivator named Zeng who was still fighting with Lu Xuan, and turned into a stream of light and fled dozens of feet away in an instant. How could Lu Xuan let it go? With a thought, a silver-white spike appeared in front of him, locking onto Chen Luo, who was fleeing at a high speed. The spike turned into a silver-white light that was several times faster than the monster bird and sank into Chen Luo's sea of consciousness. Chen Luo felt as if a sharp spike had pierced into his mind, stirring his sea of consciousness vigorously. As if his soul was about to be pierced, he fell straight off the monster bird in severe pain. As soon as Lu Xuan sacrificed the spike, the green shoes under his feet began to glow green, and he came to Chen Luo in an instant. Before he could wake up from the severe pain in his soul, a golden broadsword appeared in his hand. With a flash of sword light, it seemed that a peacock shadow passed over Chen Luo's neck. A head rolled down. A four-armed bodhisattva shadow appeared on the blade of the peacock king's sword, solemn and dignified, as if he was praying for the dead soul. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.